Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is present. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I see some people in the comments saying, I didn't know this was happening tonight. I didn't know this was happening tonight either. I just did it last minute. We were doing a bunch of stuff tonight. We all got home. Everybody was all doing their own thing. And I was like, you know what? It is Friday night. And it has been a couple weeks since I did a Friday night Q&A. And the last time I drank a bit too much. So tonight, it's just root beer. It really is root beer. Caffeine-free, sugar-free, diet root beer. Best of both worlds. So good. No, it really is root beer, you guys. Let's see. We'll do a Q&A, but also maybe a little bit of a roundup for the week, comment on some things that I didn't get a chance to discuss in any videos this week. There was a hearing in the Danny Masterson case. This is of course, the retrial, the re-criminal trial. Danny Masterson is being tried again for his attacks against women, in particular, 3 former Scientologists. They were Scientologists at the time. The hearing was the defense attorneys asking for subpoenas for a bunch of information they've already been denied in the past. And considering that it's just a retrial, it's a redo of a trial that already occurred, it was a little strange that the defense attorneys were asking the judge to approve subpoenas for overly broad, overly invasive information requests, violating the privacy of the plaintiffs in this case, the 3 named victims, the named Jane Does. And the judge just summarily shut Philip Cohen down on all. It was 7 or 8 requests, 7 or 8 subpoenas he was requesting. And the judge was just denied, 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 denied. So one step forward, I think the retrial is probably going to begin. Oh boy, I don't want to get it wrong. Absolute latest, early April. I mean, is it April, early April, April 11th? I've got a bunch of dates in my head, but it's going to be coming up pretty quickly soon. And man, I hope we get a different result this time. I sure do. Let's see some other developments this week. Boy, I'll tell you, it is a bad week to be Grant Cardone, you guys. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Oh, I see Going Claire in the chat. Hi, Claire. That's Claire Headley. I see Catherine Olson in the chat. Hi, Kate. I see all the rest of you in the chat as well, but I'm just Willie. Hey, and it's Goldie. I didn't give Goldie any advance notice at all that I was going to be doing this. So I'm not sure if she was even available to jump on, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. So guys, Grant Cardone. Holy cow. Is Grant Cardone getting roasted in all sectors of the media right now? So Grant Cardone did this interview with Laura Trump on her podcast or show or whatever she's got. I don't even know what the platform was. I saw this clip on YouTube. I don't know if she's just got a YouTube show or if she's got, on Fox or something like that. I don't know. But it was like a 25-minute interview that Grant Cardone did with Laura Trump. And unprompted, Grant Cardone started talking about how half of his audience is Black people under the age of 40. And the way he accomplished that was they specifically target that audience. He goes, we speak street to them. We use small words, not big nomenclature. We keep it really tight and concise. And when I saw this interview, I was like, oh, dear God. He's like, oh, does he even know what he's saying? Like, I know he's saying the truth. He's saying what he's really doing, but does he even know? Like, did he really just say that out loud? And so I did a video about it. I did a video about like a reaction video to that video. And then I edited the whole thing down into like a 30-second YouTube short. And this thing has gotten a ton of traction. Grant really has been preying on the Black community, and the Black community, particularly, you know, Clubhouse. There's like a Black finance community in Clubhouse, and I know it sounds weird to say that, but it's literally what it is. Black people helping Black people in the area of finance and investing on Clubhouse, and Cardone has wormed his way into these communities, and he basically leeches off these communities because he thinks that somehow he can trick these guys into giving him money more so, I guess, than white people. I mean, that's what it seems like. And that's what this community is starting to say itself. And there's some leaders in this community outside. I'm talking about the Clubhouse investing community right now when I say this community. And outside of this community, you wouldn't even know their names. And actually, Charlemagne the God, the Breakfast Club in LA, and Charlemagne the God, who most people in pop culture will know who Charlemagne is. They just addressed this whole issue with Grant Cardone preying on the Black community. And I haven't, I just saw Charlemagne's bit this evening, and tomorrow, hopefully, I'll actually do a video about it. I don't see how Grant Cardone is going to continue to successfully raise any investment money after what has been being blown up about him this week. Forbes magazine just did an article about Grant Cardone's interview with Laura Trump. Forbes magazine. So I will also take an opportunity to do a video about the Forbes magazine. People are finally seeing Grant Cardone for what he is. Not just a racist, not just a fraudster, a con man, a grifter, a major financial supporter of Scientology, an enabler of a human trafficking cult. He's one of Scientology's biggest promoters, recruiters, and financial supporters. So it's good to see him kind of getting what's been coming to him for a long time. Never mind the fact that Cardone is still under FBI investigation, still in the crosshairs of, I believe, both the SEC and the IRS. And yeah, it's kind of like, I'm not sure who's going to have a worse year, David Miscavige or Grant Cardone, but I'm here for both of them. I'm here for both of them, whatever. Hello in New Zealand. Hello in, oh, I thought that was Albany, but it's Alibaba Bunny. Hello, Alibaba Bunny. Let me see anything else happening. Oh my gosh, I did a video yesterday on Andrew Gold's channel asking the question, is Christopher McQuarrie, I think that's how you say the name, the guy who's directed like who's either written, produced, or directed the last like 10 Tom Cruise movies. Christopher McQuarrie. I'm going to say McQuarrie because that's how I've always said it. It looks like Christopher McQuarrie might be a Scientologist now. And that seems like we might be in like super speculation land. But as I did this video with Andrew Gold yesterday, looking at some of the data points, I very gradually started convincing myself, and Andrew helped convince me that it looks like Christopher McQuarrie might really be a Scientologist. It turns out he is a registered address, a legal address, a driver's license, and is a registered voter in Clearwater, Florida, in Tom Cruise's condo building in downtown Clearwater. And I won't rehash the entire video right here, but that's another video that I might do tomorrow. I asked Andrew, could I take a segment of the video that we did and publish it on my channel? But really fascinating stuff, because if Christopher McQuarrie, I feel like I'm saying his name differently every single time that I say it. If Christopher McQuarrie really is, in fact, a secret Scientologist, it would probably be the biggest coup. I don't even know if that's the right word. That Scientology has pulled off since Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Never before has someone that big and well-known secretly been a Scientologist without the world knowing than Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Not only were they able to keep it a secret when they were in Scientology, even after they left Scientology, they continued to lie about ever having been in Scientology in the first place. So that's just a little something that happened this week that was quite surprising. Let me see anything else. Tom Cruise news, Danny Masterson news, Grant Cardone news. Oh, David Minkoff, of course. Dr. David Minkoff, the famous Scientology doctor who keeps killing people. Not only I've been trying to get to it. I have a whole new load of text messages between Dr. David Minkoff and Scientologist Whitney Mills, who died by suicide earlier, last year, while under the care of Dr. Minkoff. This will be the second preventable death that Dr. Minkoff has been involved in that I know of. The first, of course, being Lisa McPherson. And the points of malpractice that Dr. Minkoff committed with Whitney Mills are even more egregious, in my opinion, than what happened with Lisa McPherson. And I do believe that once the media fully sinks its teeth into that whole issue, it will be as big of a deal as the Lisa McPherson death and subsequent case was. Okay, let me tackle some questions here. From Reverse YouTube, hello, Reverse YouTube. Who actually owns the Ideal Org buildings? Does David Miscavige charge the orgs rent? So this is to the best of my knowledge. Somebody might have better knowledge than me and have different information than I do. But my understanding is that these buildings are owned by int reserves. Now, this language might be a little clumsy because int reserves, is int reserves a legal entity? I think of int reserves as being an account. I don't know if int reserves is a legal entity or if the int landlord office is the legal entity that would own the Scientology buildings. In any case, international management owns the buildings, regardless of whether those buildings were paid off, purchased in full, using money raised from local Scientologists in that city. The Church of when the Church of Scientology of Chicago finally opens, the Church of Scientology of Chicago is not the one who owns the Church of Scientology of Chicago's building. International management owns that building. And I do believe that international management charges that org rent, even though the Scientologists in that city just purchased the building in cash. Kate Olson, I know you're in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Confirm for me, in your experience, if that is true. Even when an Ideal Org building is purchased in cash, does that org still have to pay rent to international management? Or is that one of the benefits of getting your Ideal Org building is they do not charge you rent? That would be interesting. Because my understanding is they do charge rent, but it's always possible. That's an example of a very small thing that Miscavige could change to make life easier for staff at the orgs. Less expenses at the orgs means more potential pay in the pockets of staff members. Miscavige doesn't need that rent money at international management. So it wouldn't shock me if he made that change, but I'm not aware of that change already having been made. Thank you for that question, Reverse YouTube. Okay, I see another one here. Fan Ranker grew up in Oregon and used to play Delphi in sports. Schools on a hill and looks like Hogwarts. What do you know about it? Seems like an eerie place. Thank you, Fan Ranker. Yeah, so Delphi, Oregon is a very famous, in Scientology, a very famous, exclusive, expensive boarding school for Scientology kids. I've always been a little mystified that any non-Scientology kids also go, that non-Scientology kids also go to Delphi, Oregon. My understanding is that it's mostly Asian, wealthy Asian families, non-Scientology families, who somehow end up sending their kids to Oregon, whether that's from China or Japan or Taiwan. That's at least what I've heard. It's mostly American Scientology kids and Asian non-Scientology kids, but it's expensive. I mean, I think it's like $30,000 a year to go there, and it's just a high school. You imagine paying 30 grand a year, send your kid to high school? It's absurd. And for a long time, Delphi, Oregon served as like a Sea Org recruiting ground. It would go, it would sort of ebb and flow. Sea Org recruiters would go up there and recruit a bunch of Scientology kids to the Sea Org, and then there would be a crackdown, and Sea Org recruiters weren't allowed anywhere near the place, and then they would get in there again anyway, and it would go back and forth and back and forth. I mean, one of the main problems in the world of Scientology is there's just such a scarcity of members. There's a scarcity of Scientologists. There's a scarcity of public. Therefore, there's a scarcity of staff. Therefore, there's a scarcity of Sea Org members. And so when you put someone in a position of like putting a gun to their head and saying you have to get your stats up, and yet there's not enough people in Scientology to get and keep the stats up, you're inevitably going to go take the path of least resistance, which is we need more Sea Org members, send some recruiters up to Delphi and guilt trip them into coming down to LA and joining the Sea Org. So yeah, Delphi is still a very, very popular, expensive boarding school for Scientology families. And Scientology families who can't afford the tuition can send their kids there sometimes on a work study program. And kind of sound familiar? It's kind of what how Scientology sort of treats its staff, kind of. Well, you can either pay or you can work. So thank you for that question. Seeker0628, thank you for the super sticker. Let me find the next question. Jack Mayhoff. Nice try there. On a level from 1 to Xenu, how bad are the YouTube overlords? You know, we like to talk smack about the YouTube overlords, but if the worst thing that happens to me is I have to not swear so much in order to keep my videos from being suppressed and demonetized, that's not really the end of the world. And you know, having to speak creatively and selectively use some words here and there, I think it's a small price to pay. What really where the YouTube overlords seem to inflict a lot of pain is when the algorithm, just for no particular reason, seems to just be totally there's no way to know what really is behind how the algorithm works. And some videos that should not do well do really well, and some videos that should do well just do like ridiculously poorly. And at the end of the day, none of these things matter. But to someone, you know, I'm just someone who likes to be able to feel like I can kind of connect cause and effect, you know, sort of try to think in sequences, try to be able to predict things. And when you're dealing with this algorithm that seems to sometimes have no real rhyme or reason, it's just frustrating. But never to the level where I would, you know, question the value of doing any of this. This is everything I do here on YouTube is fun and valuable just in its own right, regardless of anything that happens with the algorithm or anything that the YouTube overlords do. So it's okay. I think it's just fun to complain about the man. Okay, so Kevin, here we go. Kevin, I often find myself having small degrees of sympathy for Tom, LRH, and even DM in very small ways. Do you ever find yourself sympathizing with the villain, or are you too close? Also, what's with the podcast? Okay, so let's see. So Tom Cruise, I don't find myself sympathizing with Tom Cruise. I mean, I think, I guess if you can always probably find something to sympathize with, but I feel like you'd really have to bend over backwards and you know, intentionally do that kind of intellectual exercise of, if you had to sympathize with Tom, what would it be about? Maybe I could sympathize with him for the fact that he can't find and keep a girlfriend. Could you imagine having the deck stacked in your favor so strongly? You're one of the most famous, wealthiest, good-looking dudes in the world, and you can't find and keep a girlfriend or a wife? What a miserable existence. I mean, it can't be that gratifying to hang out with David Miscavige all the time. You think, David, imagine being Tom Cruise, and at the end of the day, you go home and you're just alone. How pathetic and sad. See, look, now you got me sympathizing with Tom Cruise. But in general, I still say no. I mean, Tom is, you know, any bed that he's sleeping in is a bed that he's made. So I don't feel sorry for him. I mean, I don't hate him either. I don't have like some strong, even dislike for Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise to me represents something, and what he represents is worthy of criticism. I don't actually harbor any ill will towards Tom Cruise, the individual. I haven't had any personal experience with him to have strong feelings of that nature. I criticize more of what he represents than who he actually is. I mean, let's be real. I don't know the guy. You know what I mean? So L. Ron Hubbard, I don't sympathize for a dead man. So no, I've never sympathized for LRH for even a second. And Miscavige, no. So I mean, maybe someone could say, well, then you are just too close to it. Well, that's fine. Then I'm too close to it. But so what's with the podcast? Yeah. So the podcast, I did this a couple weeks ago, guys. I went to Austin, filmed this massively popular podcast, almost a 4-hour chat about Scientology. And it was amazing. And it just comes down to the fact that I failed to ask my host how many other interviews he had already recorded and not yet published. And because I always do everything just off the cuff, I don't even schedule my videos. I don't schedule my live streams. I wake up in the morning and I go, what am I going to do today? And how fast can I do it? And how many of them am I going to do? And when they're done, they're done. And I'll go live. I went live with tonight I decided I was going to do a live stream. 20 minutes later, I was live. I don't even plan my own shit day to day. I sort of naively projected that onto my host, that if he was interviewing me, I must be the next interview that's going to be published. And in retrospect, that was really stupid to think that. So it just comes down to the fact of once he gets to mine, he'll get to mine. I'm hoping it's tomorrow. But I've been saying that for 2 weeks. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, you can't fool me again. If you get it, you get it. All right, next one here. Claire Alice. Hey, Aaron, keep up the great work. FYI, St. George, Utah is where some of the behavioral kids schools are. Do you know if a Scientologist ever owned any of those in Utah or elsewhere? The brainwashing tactics used are similar. Very interesting. So she's mentioning St. George, Utah, because I did a video earlier today about Ben Shapiro promoting a Scientology company. A Scientology company called, I always get this wrong. Crap, let me pull it up. It's called Balance of Nature. That is a Scientologist-owned company, and it is based in St. George, Utah. So I did a video about that today. That's why Claire's asking about this. So the Scientology behavioral schools that I'm aware of were in, where was Mace Kingsley? Let me Google it real quick. Where was the Mojave Academy? Mojave Academy Scientology. New Mexico. Okay, so where was Mace Kingsley? Mace Kingsley Scientology. The Mace Kingsley Ranch was in, or was it, guys? Oh, it was in New Mexico. Yeah, no, Scientology prefers to abuse its children in New Mexico. You guys in Utah must got a whole other thing going on there. So when you say the behavioral kids schools, I'm not even totally sure what you're talking about. That sounds like a whole mess of stuff. Scientology prefers to brainwash its children in Clearwater, Los Angeles, and New Mexico, of all places. So thank you for the super chat, Claire. Let's find another one here. Ace X222. Do you have any upstat pure theta pickup lines? Simple answer, no. Yeah, Scientologists aren't really into the whole pickup lines thing. What would be a funny Scientology sort of joke pickup line? So Scientology has what it calls its conditions of existence, and the condition of existence that you're supposed to be in and the condition formula that you're supposed to apply when you're new to a post or new to an org or new to an area is the formula of non-existence. And the steps are find a comm line, make yourself known, find out what's needed and wanted. And so literally Scientologists will just be really sort of kind of coldly rote and mechanical about sometimes and be like, you know, I'm doing my non-existence on the second dynamic and I'm making myself known and finding out what's needed and wanted and what I'm looking for in a 2D, which is Scientology slang for girlfriend or boyfriend. What I'm looking for in a 2D is X, Y, and Z. And it's like it totally kind of bypasses a lot of the flirting or you know, pickup lines kind of stuff. It really sort of makes it very cold and calculating sometimes. So no, I couldn't even tell you from memory any funny or joking Scientology pickup lines because it's kind of frowned upon to even joke about stuff like that, at least in the world of staff members and Sea Org members. Maybe the public have the stuff that they do, but I was never one of the public. You know what I'm saying? I was 12 years old when I started working for these mofos. All right. Thank you for that, Ace. Terry Ray. Kelly Cross wants someone to do a super chat and ask him. Kelly Cross wants someone to do a super chat and ask him to spill some more Ashton secrets because she's broke. I think I've spilled all the Ashton secrets that I have for now. Anything else that I have is kind of just some add-ons to the stuff that I already said. But I mean, what I already said was the worst of it. It was pretty bad. I mean, it was pretty bad. One of the funny things about Ashton Kutcher is that so many of the people in his inner circle were like very dedicated second generation Scientologists. Even the people who worked for Ashton were in this crowd of people. And yet he never actually got into Scientology. It's really kind of strange. And I know some people have said that Danny Masterson wasn't really a dedicated Scientologist because he didn't really do much of Scientology's bridge, but that's just not true. Danny may not have done much of Scientology's bridge, but neither did I. And I was a dedicated Scientologist. Danny Masterson did was constantly trying to recruit people into Scientology, even though he himself didn't actually, you know, technically speaking, do much of Scientology's bridge. Thank you, Terry. Okay, chat here from Kate Olson. The buildings are owned by CSI, that's Church of Scientology International. I'm pretty sure they are not charged rent. Okay, so that's a possibility there. And I know that, you know, if that is true, that might specifically be true for the new Ideal Org buildings, because I do know that the existing org buildings, even though they are owned outright, do pay rents to international management. I do know that. So, okay, so it's at least possible that on the new buildings, they do not have to pay rent. Well, there's got to be some benefit to forking out all the cash for those buildings, right? Okay, here we go. Snow 167. Is there any Church of Scientology missions or orgs in the Twin Cities? Yes, there is. It's called, well, I've always called it the Minneapolis org or the Twin Cities org. No, it's been called the Twin Cities org. And yet, let's see where it actually is. There's only ever been one organization in Twin Cities. It's been there for generations. Let me look it up here. Scientology org, Twin Cities. It is located at 505 Wabasha Street North, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55102. And it is a massive facility. It used to be like a museum or something. I think it's like close to 50. It's near 50,000 square feet. This is one of the many, many orgs that cannot afford to pay its heating bill in the winter and cannot afford to pay its electric bill in the summer for the air conditioning. So yeah. They've been there for a long time. They've always been a small, struggling, failing organization. All righty, Brandy. How are pets treated? Do they vaccinate, spay, neuter? What if they get sick? Are they then PTS? And is it the pet's fault? Are they taken to the vet if sick? Brandy, excellent question. Thank you so much. I will tell you this. In my experience, pets in Scientology are treated better than Scientologists. Scientologists really do love their pets more than they love their children. I mean, I'm not literally speaking for everybody. I can't paint everybody with one brush, but it's like pets can't be SPs. You never hear of pets being SPs. In fact, I've heard high-level Scientologists sort of jokingly, but not jokingly, say that their dogs were former executives in past lives, like executives who just wanted to take an entire lifetime off, just take an entire vacation lifetime, right? Like they wanted to skip the rat race. They wanted to, for a lifetime, they wanted to skip the rat race, the 9-to-5 job, the chasing the money, whatever. And they just wanted to be a dog and be happy and lazy. And all the Scientologists I've known who have had pets treat their pets like freaking royalty. The same cannot be said for the Scientologist children. Okay, do they vaccinate? Yeah, I mean, Scientologists are not inherently anti-vaccination. I mean, particularly for animals. There's nothing like in the policies of Scientology that say anything whatsoever about vaccinations. It happens to be true that many Scientologists are anti-vax, but not necessarily because Hubbard said you should be. Scientologists sort of tend to be anti-medical profession in general, not necessarily anti, like they're not against the medical profession. They just think Scientology has most of the answers, and sometimes the doctors help as well. So of course they're completely anti-psychiatry, anti-anything, you know, any psychotropic medication, any SSRIs, any, you know, any mind altering drugs or anything like that. No, I've never heard of an animal having to get a PTS handling, but it's funny. I've actually never thought about that either. Thank you for that question. Okay. From Fluke Face, if Church of Scientology owns the buildings, does David Miscavige own the Keebler tree? It's an excellent question. It comes up all the time. Captain Keebler, the Scientology boss baby, Captain Keebler himself, does in fact own the tree and the orchard the tree resides in. Excellent question, Fluke Face. Thank you very much. Tom, you've talked about the red and green books, but what's in the blue books and why aren't they available to all Scientologists, apparently? Excellent question, Tom. The blue volumes are called the Research and Discovery volumes, or the R&D volumes. And I have to tell you, I actually do not know what is in those volumes that is different than everything else. So I would have said what's in those volumes are not, they're transcripts of lectures. But here's what I mean. When I say I don't know what's in them that's not in something else. They're transcripts of lectures, but I don't know what lectures they're transcripts of, that where those lectures aren't already included in something else now. Now, I'll also take half a step backwards here. Sometime around 2004 and the next 4 or 5 years after that, David Miscavige released what he called the materials grade chart, or the materials guide chart, the materials grade chart. I can't remember which one it is. And kind of for the first time ever, he was releasing, and in some cases releasing for the first time, every LRH lecture he had ever given in chronological order in sets. And some of these were called congresses, and some of these were called advanced clinical courses, ACCs. Congresses were lectures that L. Ron Hubbard gave that were intended to be suitable for all audiences. ACCs were lectures that he gave that were only intended for professionally trained auditors. And I have a sneaking suspicion that most of the lectures that were transcribed in the R&D vols were ACC lectures that had been previously unreleased, because there was no reason to release them, because they weren't part of any modern auditor training courses. And yet they were lectures intended for professional auditors. And that when Miscavige released all of the ACCs and all the congresses and everything, it might have made the R&D vols unnecessary. Now, he had already previously suspended the R&D vol project for reasons that have been explained to me that I can never remember. It wasn't anything particularly interesting or important. But even though Miscavige had already suspended the R&D vol project, I have a sneaking suspicion that the ACCs being released made them unnecessary. And if anyone knows, has a better answer for what the hell was in the R&D volumes that might not be already in the congresses and the ACCs, please let me know in the chat and I'll try to find it. Thank you for that. That's an excellent question, Tom. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I see a super sticker, DNV 1983. Thank you very much for that. Okay, let's see. Maxwell Edison's mom. Don't have a question. Just wanted to say hi and have a great weekend. Well, Maxwell Edison's mom, hello to you. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend as well. Thank you for the super chat. It's Jason Polychron again. How you doing, Jason? Always good to see you in the chat. Thanks for joining me tonight. And okay, passenger shaming. By the way, passenger shaming has like a massive following on Twitter. So what is your preferred method for us to contact you? I took a Scientology video for you tonight. LOL, Cardone is a POS, the end. At this point, the best way to reach me is growingupinscientology@gmail.com. I am kind of getting to the point now where between Facebook messages and Instagram messages and Twitter messages and emails, it is getting hard to stay on top of it all. But if you send me something at growingupinscientology@gmail.com, I will see it. So that's going to be my best answer. Thank you for the super chat. And yes, Cardone is a POS. All right, here we go. Fanny Jalanders. Have other high-ranking Scientologists gone missing like Shelly? Do you think DM has it in him to kill someone? So it depends on what we mean by missing. So in a literal sense, Shelly's not missing. She's missing because she's no longer by David Miscavige's side. But we do know where she is. She has been seen. She has been spoken with. And I don't mean by the police. So like her family was regularly in touch with her on the phone until 2014. And then in 2014, some so-called journalists published some anecdotes that they had heard whisper down the lane. Like a family member told a family member who told a Scientologist, who told a former Scientologist, who told a journalist, some things that could have only come from some of Shelly's family members. And these things were published. And so Shelly became under the impression that her family members were speaking to the press about her, and she disconnected from them. So the press is actually the reason Shelly Miscavige's family doesn't hear from her anymore, other than the fact that, you know, Shelly Miscavige made that decision. The press giving people the impression that Shelly's family was speaking to the press is the reason why Shelly doesn't speak to her family. Then in 2020, someone who knows Shelly very well ran into her at a restaurant in public while in the company of 3 other high-level Sea Org members, actually spoke with her, actually had a conversation with her. So this is what I mean when I say Shelly's not literally missing. It's just fun to troll David Miscavige for being such a piece of shit that he shipped his wife off to a far-flung confidential Scientology base, and so that she would be isolated from people and so that he wouldn't have to see her and all this kind of stuff. You hear this story of, oh, Shelly was cited at a funeral. She wasn't cited at the funeral. She organized the entire funeral. She was the MC. Oh, she was seen at a funeral with a handler. When Shelly's father died, Shelly was the executor of the estate. Not that there was much of an estate. She organized and put on the entire frickin' thing. And she brought with her a Sea Org member who, to any normal eyes, just looked like it was Shelly's assistant. And this person was assisting Shelly. But this person was also there to make sure Shelly didn't make a run for it. Do you see what I'm saying? So the way this stuff has been reported is very selective and somewhat misleading. And the truth is different. I mean, if you look at the episode of the Leah Remini Scientology in the Aftermath show where they talk about Shelly, even in the episode, Mike and Leah make it very clear that Shelly Miscavige wants to be in the Sea Org. It would actually be very insulting to Shelly Miscavige to go, oh, just because your husband took you off your post, now you don't want to be in the Sea Org anymore? Like, what does that mean? You think Shelly Miscavige was only in the Sea Org because she got to work with David Miscavige? Shelly Miscavige was in the Sea Org long before she ever even met David Miscavige. Shelly Miscavige has been working for L. Ron Hubbard since she was like 12 years old. So to think that just because she got in trouble with her husband, Dave, now she's there against her will and she's a prisoner, it's a bullshit narrative and it's not true. So if we define missing as she was removed from her post, stripped of all normal responsibility, demoted, put on tasks that are meaningless just to keep her busy. There's dozens and dozens of senior Scientology executives in that exact same boat. Dozens. Guillaume Lasserre, Mark Yeager, Heber Jensch, Mark Ingber. I'd say Greg Wilher, but he's actually been seen. Who's the other dude I'm thinking of? Who's the other dude? Those are enough. Heber Jensch. You know, these guys have also gone missing. So anyway, good question, and I hope that's hope you like that answer. Okay, Bo Beats. Are you in bunker still, buds? Miss you two together. Yes, I mean he's busy and I'm busy, and he's got his you know, I don't know if you remember this. When Mark himself was running for council, I said to him, Mark, you got to do a video a day, man. Man, you got to just do a video every day. It doesn't matter. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You got to get content up on your channel. It's how you're going to be able to raise money for your campaign. It's how you're going to get the word out about everything. And he's like, you tried doing a video a day. And I wasn't doing a video a day at that point. Then when I was running for city council, he's like, so how's that video a day coming? He was busting my balls because I wasn't doing a video a day. It's only now, well, for the last 6 or 7 months now that I'm actually been doing a video a day, that the channel is just absolutely exploding and blowing up in a good way. So all that is to say, I'm now quite preoccupied with this channel in addition to my normal business. And I'm kind of a hermit. Like, other than working and doing my channel, I don't like doing anything. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. And Mark's got his city council stuff going on. So when he's ready, he's going to be, what is it? Is it another year or so before he's ready to run for re-election? I'll be helping him with his campaign. I'll certainly be promoting his campaign on this channel, and I'll still be encouraging him. Mark, you got to do a video a day. So anyway, thank you for that question, Bo. I appreciate it. And by the way, the videos that Mark and I would do together, we'd go to downtown Clearwater and we'd do dining with the SPs. I haven't been to downtown Clearwater in 9 months. I have no interest in hanging out down there. And that's one of the other reasons why you wouldn't have seen us do any of those videos. Thank you for that. E. Miller, is DM celibate since his wife is away? Larice? So, E. Miller, the answer is, I'm going to give you the answer that Mike Rinder gives, which is yes. Larice is no. Could we be wrong? Sure. Here's the thing. Miscavige, if he were divorced, we would know about it. So Miscavige and Shelly are still married. That's the kind of paperwork that you just can't hide. That's my understanding. And it would be one of the single biggest violations of Sea Org culture would be if DM was having a relationship with someone other than his wife Shelly. And remember, LRH was, separated from his wife and celibate for a good final chunk of his life. And in some respects, Miscavige is kind of walking in LRH's footsteps in many ways, even in how he treats his wife. How he had her, shipped off and sent off the way that he did. LRH did the exact same thing. Once Mary Sue was sentenced to prison, and L. Ron Hubbard never spoke to her again, even after she finished her sentence and was out and everything. Never spoke to her again. It's amazing to consider. Okay, Danielle learns stuff. Hi, Aaron. If Tom Cruise suddenly got cancer, do you think he'd get treatment? 100% he would get treatment. I think 100% he would. Same thing with Dave. If Dave Miscavige got cancer, he wouldn't mess around with audit my body things until the cancer goes away. That's for the plebes. That's for the riffraff, not for the big beings of Dave and Tom. That's my belief. I wonder what others would say about that, but that's how I feel about that. Thank you for that, Danielle Learn Stuff. Much appreciated. By the way, is that Australian dollars? Is that what the A means? I'll have to look that up. Okay. Brian Cass, do you own any other shirts that are not black? Brian, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, I do. It is a stain on my reputation that I own any non-black shirts, but I do have to admit that I do. In addition to black, I do like wearing blue. The problem is if I'm going to wear blue, and I could get away with it here because I keep this space at 66 degrees. I run hot, guys. If anything over 70 degrees and I'm uncomfortable, I start to sweat. I need to keep things cold. And I wear black. One, it's a good color for me. And two, if I start to sweat, it's not very obvious, which is why I wear black V-necks, black polos, black button downs. Black's kind of my thing. If you guys see me in public, I'm wearing these shirts. I have a bunch of these guys. I hope you guys didn't think I was actually wearing the same shirt every day. I've got like 5 of them hanging right over there. No, but before it was the black button down, I have like 15 identical black V-necks. I would wear those everywhere, but I'm about 15 pounds too heavy for those black V-necks. So, but this button down shirt does, cover up a little bit of the pizza and wings weight gain that I've had over the past 15 months or whatever it is. So anyway, I do own black shirts, and I will never, ever wear a white shirt unless I'm wearing a suit. You won't catch me dead in a white shirt. I mean, white shirt on me is practically see-through. You know, it's weird. I don't know how any guys wear white shirts. Doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. R.R. Smith. Would you prefer that we do super chats or donate directly to the Aftermath Foundation? Sorry, half a fifth of rum so far. Thank you, and an excellent question. So here's the thing, guys. YouTube takes like at least 30% of the super chat money. So if you want to donate to the foundation, you're much better off just donating directly to the foundation, where PayPal might take like 1% or 3% or something ridiculously small. So if you go to the aftermathfoundation.org, the donate page, there's just a donate. It's like a PayPal donate button or something. You can actually even donate through Facebook. If you go to the Aftermath Foundation Facebook page, there's a donate button. I'm sorry, guys. And they don't take hardly anything either. So definitely donate directly to the foundation is the way to go on that. Thank you for that one, R.R. Smith. Okay, let's see. Lauren Tracy. It seems like there was a lot of ties to Scientology in that 70s show. Was Laura Prepon recruited by Danny Masterson, or was she already in when the show started? Fantastic question. And this is a perfect example of what I said a moment ago or earlier, that Danny Masterson, despite not doing a lot of Scientology bridge-wise, was a dedicated Scientologist. Yes, Danny Masterson, or the Masterson family, recruited Laura Prepon. I believe Laura Prepon went out with Danny's brother for many years. There's Danny Masterson, Chris Masterson, Alana Masterson. There's another brother. I know I'm missing a brother. I could be wrong. Every one of the Masterson kids is a successful actor. Laura dated Danny's brother for a long time. Also, the Masterson parents have been very successful Scientology recruiters, FSMs, field staff members, bringing people into Scientology. So yeah, Laura Prepon was brought into Scientology. Vilmer Valderrama, am I saying that right? Vilmer Valderrama. I don't have any information of him actually like full on joining Scientology, but I do know a Sea Org member who got busted for sleeping with him. And that was a Sea Org member who worked at the Celebrity Center. So for her to even have come within proximity of Vilmer Valderrama, who apparently is a man of many conquests in Hollywood, if you look up his relationship history, Vilmer had to be hanging around the Celebrity Center in order to get close to this Sea Org member who got busted for doing the nasty with Vilmer. I wonder, even if only going to like the Celebrity Center gala event, but it couldn't have just been that. It really couldn't have just been that. So there were a lot of Scientology connections to that 70s show, 100%. And in fact, one of the reasons why Topher Grace, the actual star of that show, I think many people forget that was supposed to be a starring vehicle for Topher Grace. It never really ended up that way, did it? It really seemed like it was more the Ashton Kutcher show, to me at least. One of the reasons Topher Grace was so disliked by Danny and his crew is because Topher was the one person who wanted absolutely nothing to do with Scientology. At least that's the inside skinny that was given to me by people who would know. So maybe there's other people out there with other viewpoints and other opinions on that, but that's the information I've been given. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. Okay, what do we have here? 546 Queen super sticker. Well, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Oh, R.R. Smith again. Also, how can I buy a Blown for Good book to be donated to a viewer? Okay, so what you have to do on that is you have to go to blownforgood.com, Mark's website where you would normally buy the book, and you can email Mark at the domain that I just said, and just tell him. So you essentially have to place the order and basically ask Mark to ship it to someone else. That has nothing to do with the Aftermath Foundation. Thank you for that, R.R. Smith. Much appreciated. Okay, I see Celeste Commodore. Celeste Commodore, I like that name. Since Church of Scientology is not a charity in Canada and isn't tax exempt, do they have to pay the Sea Organ staff minimum wage? No, they do not. They do not. And I have never thought about this, so I don't know how they get around that. If they do not have, here's how they get around it. So I'm speculating here, being a non-expert, just a layman. I grew up in a cult, guys. What do I know? All staff members are considered religious volunteers. So even if you take the religious out of it, you're still a volunteer. And this is the part where I say I'm sort of pulling it, out of thin air here. Are there really just can you really just call anyone a volunteer and not pay them? That seems a little too simplistic. That would open the door wide open to just rampant human trafficking, labor trafficking. I've never thought about this. I'll have to ask Mike Rinder about that. Or if anyone in the chat has something that they some expert knowledge on this subject. Here's what I do know. Sea Org members and staff members in Canada get paid exactly the same as Sea Org and staff members everywhere else in the world, and particularly the same as the United States. Yeah. How they happen to accomplish that, given the laws in Canada, or given their different status in Canada, I don't know the answer to that. But thank you for that question, Celeste. Okay, we got one here. Malware bot. Is it possible that ex-Scientologists will outnumber current members within 10 years? Also, can you create playlists for tour videos? Thank you. I think former Scientologists already outnumber current members. There's only about 30, 35,000 at most Scientologists in the world right now. As far as active Scientologists, the number's probably honestly 20% of that. The 35,000 number that I often cite, that's like if L. Ron Hubbard came back and it was promoted, if Scientology promoted to its entire its entire mailing lists, its entire central files, L. Ron Hubbard has returned. We are holding an event. L. Ron Hubbard is going to announce the release of OT 9 and 10. I think you could scrape together 35,000 Scientologists in the world to come and hear that message. Even if you couldn't get 35,000 Scientologists to actually come in and take a course right now. Okay. So, but because there's about 35,000 at the most. Well, there used to be 100 at active. And that was like late 80s, early 90s. So and there was a crap ton of Scientologists back in the 60s and the 70s when L. Ron Hubbard was actually running the things. Like there was a time when Scientology was actually expanding. That ended in the late 80s, early 90s. So just mathematically speaking, there's already more former Scientologists than there are current Scientologists. So can you create playlists for the tour videos? So here's the thing. The tour video, I don't have more than one tour video. I think you're talking about the SP tour that we did in downtown Clearwater a few years ago. There was only one tour. And if I posted a video to my channel, it would have only been one video. So you can't make a playlist for one video. If I'm understanding your question correctly, that is my response. Thank you for that, malware bot. Much appreciated. Oh, hold on. Okay, this is a Scientology pickup line from Quentin. Hey, girl, are you an upstat? Because I want to open a comm line with you. Yeah, that's about what it would be. That's pretty gosh darn accurate. And you probably wouldn't even get in trouble for saying that. If someone overheard you saying that, they might write a report on you for joking and degrading or something. But that would be pretty funny and pretty accurate. It would be hard to argue with that one. Good one, Quentin. All right, hold on. JLD is me. Can you tell how you and Heather got together, please? It's actually a very, very funny story. I mean, like the story itself is literally a funny story. It's too long to tell on a live stream like this. But I will eventually probably do a video about it. It's one of those stories that's it's funnier to tell it in private than it is to tell it in public. But so sorry, I guess I'm letting you down a little bit on that question, but it actually is a very, very funny story of how of how naive and clueless I am. Am, whatever. All right, let's see. Simone Ferran. No question, just a hi to you and your family. Love your channel. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And thanks for the super chat. And thanks for joining me on this Q&A tonight. All right, we got another one here. Elsie. I always find it funny that the Scientology building in Phoenix is right next to the Church of Latter-day Saints building. You know, David Miscavige is probably insanely jealous of how successful the Mormon Church has been. They've got their own state. They've got their own governor. They've got their own senators. They almost had their own president. We found out they've got like $30 more billion than anybody knew about. I mean, Miscavige has to be insanely jealous. And that's how you know the Mormon Church and what they've been able to accomplish financially and membership-wise, regardless of whatever you might think of them, shows you that the reason Scientology is failing is not because of how crazy their beliefs are. It's just not. It shows you how completely incompetent and inept David Miscavige is. And not just David Miscavige. Well, yes, David Miscavige, but also the management system of Dianetics and Scientology. Because almost anything you can say about the Scientologists, you can say about the Mormons. I mean, I don't shit on other religions. I do not shit on other religions. But I will tell you, former Jehovah's Witnesses and former Mormons have very similar stories to former Scientologists. And I get contacted through the Aftermath Foundation by former Scientologists all the time. But through the Aftermath Foundation, we, the board, also gets contacted by former Jehovah's Witnesses and former Mormons looking for help. We do have a place we can refer former JWs for help. I've never found a place I can refer former Mormons for help. But I'm saying all this because it is funny that Scientology in Phoenix is right next to, you know, the Mormon Church in Phoenix, and that the Mormon Church is 1,000 times more successful, despite being just as crazy. And yeah, I could go on and on about that, but probably for another time. Thank you for that, Elsie. Much appreciated. All right, let me tackle this one. Lathanda Grocklinge. That wasn't too hard. Lathanda Grocklinge. The org in Hamburg, Germany looks like a corpse on life support. Just some people moving books from one shelf to another. Thought you might like the image. Absolutely. You know, Miscavige has said that the entire country of Germany is suppressive. And Mark Headley and Mike Rinder have told very funny stories of David Miscavige actually busting Sea Org members for having German-made cars because these cars were made by a suppressive country. It's amazing Scientology ever got any footholds in Germany at all. And it did. It got Berlin, Munich, Hamburg, Dusseldorf, despite being under government investigation for decades and decades. Do you know, even to this day, in order to get a job with the German government, you have to sign a form swearing that you're not a Scientologist? Because Scientology is seen as a subversive group in Germany. And yet somehow these guys have been able to keep the doors open for generations now. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, I see a comment here from Going Claire. Claire Headley, they may not actively be charged rent, but the plan was always that they would pay rent to the int landlord. That does make sense. It does make sense. I mean, it's one of these things where I could sort of see it either way. If someone was like, of course the orgs pay rent, even the ideal orgs, I would go, yeah, of course. And if someone said, oh no, Miscavige ordered that they don't pay rent, I would go, of course he did. So it really could go either way, you know, even, and like Claire said, even if it was planned one way, it might still be happening the other way. That's just the nature of the beast. Thank you, Going Claire. Joe Bennett. What if a kid claims he's reincarnated LRH or OT8? Well, anyone claiming to be reincarnated LRH has pretty much gotten the heck out of there because no one's got any time or patience for that. And Miscavige isn't exactly looking for the next LRH. You know what I'm saying? If someone claims to be OT8, people claim to be last lifetime clear and OT all the time. A note is made in the folder. This modern era age, Miscavige modern era Scientology, no one is allowed to attest to last lifetime states of clear or OT. It used to happen all the time. People used to attest to last lifetime clear all the time. But then you'd have people who were clear who'd never run any Dianetics, particularly deep whole track Dianetics with high reality, which in Scientology means running millions, billions, trillions of years ago, going back and recalling incidents and not sitting there going, I'm not sure if it's real. It seems like an imagination. In an auditing session, the auditor wants the pre-clear to have a sense of certainty that this isn't, I'm not making it up. This is an actual memory. Because otherwise auditing sessions do not go smoothly. As an auditor, you don't want to be in the position of having to convince the pre-clear that something he thinks is an imagination is actually a memory. You want the pre-clear on autopilot on that one. And so the problem with having someone who's clear, but never run any whole track Dianetics with high reality is they get onto the OT levels. They don't know what the hell they're doing. If they haven't gotten to, if they haven't been conditioned to believe that they can recall things with great clarity and certainty from trillions of years ago, then they're not going to be in a state of mind to confidently telepathically communicate with the body thetans and audit them. So Miscavige basically was like, screw you guys. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. None of you guys are last lifetime clears. None of you guys are last lifetime OTs. And even when people would finish an OT level, if that person was a last lifetime clear, it got to a point where Miscavige would let them finish the OT level. And then he would say, by the way, you're not clear, and make them go back and do clear again. It's all bullshit anyway, you guys. I'm just telling you how the rules were working in Scientology. It's all bullshit. There's no such thing as the state of clear. And L. Ron Hubbard himself proved that basically. All right, Brandy. Thank you for the explanation. I'm a vet tech and relieved that I don't have to start a campaign for the welfare of Scientology pets because I was going to. Yes. It's funny. I mean, no one's ever asked me that. And it is interesting. I swear to God, pets are treated better in Scientology than human beings. I guess, hey, that's one good thing about Scientology. They care about their pets. Okay, let's see. Harrison S. Would you ever be open to have an interview with a current indie Scientologist on your channel? I thought you were going to say a current Scientologist, and I was going to say yes. Now you've said current indie Scientologist, and I kind of want to say no. So am I just being a dick, or do I have a good reason for this? I feel like you're just talking. Oh, my God. What is the real reason why I would... It seems to me like it would be such a waste of time. How do you have that conversation with someone who's left Scientology after everything we know about L. Ron Hubbard, after everything we know about what a charlatan and a liar he was, after everything we know about the no OT levels, the no real research, everything you're told in Scientology about all the research that went into Dianetics, all the research that went into the OT levels, it was all bullshit. you're still going to be practicing this thing and using this e-meter and convincing yourselves. Honestly, Harrison, I just don't know that I would have the freaking patience. I just don't know what value such an interview would bring to the world. Who would benefit from this conversation? Whose mind am I trying to change? I feel like it would be absolutely wasting my time. And now that I've said that, I'm kind of interested in doing it. Now that I've said all that, it might actually be a lot of fun. I would really have to be in a good mood. I would really have to be in a good mood and willing to burn a couple hours and not get frustrated. Just thinking about it is making me frustrated, which is a little weird. But now you put it on my radar. So if someone is and not just an independent Scientologist, like, oh, I like to get auditing, it would have to be someone who's a highly trained auditor, preferably someone who did all of their auditor training, in Scientology, not someone who trained as an auditor in the independent field. I'd have no patience for that whatsoever. But if someone was a highly trained auditor at Flag or on the Apollo or anything, and they actually wanted to have a conversation about independent Scientology, I guess I would be up for it. Thank you for broaching that subject, Harrison. I appreciate it. Okay, next one. LJ Vespertile. LJ Vespertile. Who exactly does Stop Psi refer to, since it's not everyday members? I've got no idea what you're talking about. DM plus OSA plus inner circle. Also, just hit me after 3 to 4 years. You kind of look like Kiefer Sutherland, but Kiefer Sutherland isn't bald. It's very hard to tell what someone who has hair would look like without hair, and vice versa. I've never got Kiefer Sutherland. I'll tell you what, when I had hair and I was younger, I was a dead ringer for Timothy Hutton. In fact, I worked on a movie with Timothy Hutton. I didn't have any lines. I was like a stand-in. I was a background extra, and I did stand-in. And Timothy Hutton, The General's Daughter. I worked on The General's Daughter movie, and Timothy Hutton was in that movie. And I was I was standing there with Timothy Hutton's stand-in, and the assistant director came up and was like, okay, we're getting ready to shoot the scenes with Timothy. And I was like, wait a second. I thought I was standing in for Timothy. And he was like, wait a second. In fact, I was standing in for another guy named Tate Rupert. So anyway, okay, what exactly does Stop Scientology refer to, since it's not everyday members? I don't know what you're talking about. I've never said Stop Scientology. I don't even know what Stop Scientology would refer to. I would like to get Scientology's tax-exempt status revoked. But Scientology does refer to the everyday members, in addition to the staff and the Sea Org members and management. So perhaps I'm misunderstanding a portion of this question. My biggest misunderstood word, to use a Scientology phrase, I don't know what you mean by Stop Psi. I'm assuming you mean Stop Scientology. And if that's what you mean, then I think I've answered your question correctly. But if you mean something else, then I'm not sure what it is. Thank you for that. Okay, so Jennifer just got Mike Rinder's audiobook, and it's great. Excellent. Fantastic. Hey, anybody who hasn't subscribed to Mike Rinder's channel, please do. He's relaunching his channel. His channel's sort of been sitting there inactive for a bunch of years, but now he's actually launching. He's going to do active videos. He just recently changed the channel name. It was Michael Rinder. Now it is Mike Rinder. I'll actually, Goldie, if you're there, throw a link to Mike's channel in the chat if you would. And then after this video is done, I'll put a link to Mike's YouTube channel in the description. I mentioned his channel. You're talking about his book. I'm talking about his channel. But yeah, but I mentioned his channel because also on his channel, one of the things that he promotes is you can order a personalized autographed version of his book through his blog. And he has he promotes that on his channel. So that's what got me thinking about that. Thank you, Jennifer, for the comment. Let's see, 20 BMG. 20 BMG. I'm mainly asking as a slight bookworm, would you recommend reading Dianetics as a sci-fi book? So, I mean, I wouldn't, because it's a shitty book. And I don't even say that like, don't waste your time. Most Scientologists in the modern era had not read Dianetics until David Miscavige made everybody read Dianetics in about 2000, 6, 7, 8-ish. It's a shitty book. It's intensely confusing. It's intentionally convoluted and confusing. And it wouldn't even be entertaining as a sci-fi book. That's actually what I mean. It wouldn't even be entertaining if your goal was to read it as science fiction. It's incredibly dry. Yeah, I mean, and also remember, Dianetics has nothing to do with past lives. That was a Scientology creation. So you don't even get the fun part in Dianetics of talking about millions of years ago, billions of years ago, trillions of years ago, other galaxies, solar systems, universes, realities. That's all Scientology stuff. So you might have fun reading like, there's a Scientology book, 2 of them. I'm sure you could put your hands on some old copies. History of Man and Have You Lived Before This Life? Now, those books you would have fun reading as fantasy. How about that? That would be great. That would actually, that could be a good time. Okay. Eat More Pizza Now. Love that you're watching the Reckless Ben videos. Well, thank you, Eat More Pizza Now. I hope Ben likes that I'm watching those videos as well. I meant to do another one of those reaction videos. It was either this week or last week. And I just didn't get around to it. I even started watching the video itself to get an idea of what I would be reacting to, and something happened and I just didn't get to it. But I will get to it. They really did a good job. I don't know what I expected, but whatever they're doing, whatever they've done is much better than I expected. And I don't really know what my expectations were based on. But what Reckless Ben has done in those Scientology videos, much better than I expected. Okay, Phil Simpson, would you consider Christianity? Would I consider Christianity a what? No, I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't consider Christianity. I'm just nothing against Christianity. I wouldn't consider any of the world's major religions or minor religions for that matter. So, and that's just, I mean, it's just the way it is. So I wouldn't describe myself as atheist. I guess I'd describe myself as agnostic. And not really looking to be convinced of anything. How about that? Okay, Bo Beats, is Bunker making any difference in the council yet? Well, Bo, it depends on what you mean. Government being what it is, the majority will always rule. And I guess if you want to define it as, has Mark's presence on the council affected any decisions the city has made with respect to Scientology? Even in that sense, I think I would say yes. I think his presence has made a difference on the council. If you're specifically talking about, Scientology, how the council discusses Scientology, how city government discusses Scientology, how the people in Clearwater consider Scientology, I think Mark's presence has made a difference on the council. My only but there is Clearwater's political establishment will do what Clearwater political's establishment will do. Mark Bunker be damned. Mark Bunker is not a member of the establishment. Neither is Kathleen Beckman. The other 3 up there are, and they do whatever the hell they want to do. So that's more of a political thing. That's an establishment thing. But I think on the Scientology issue, Mark's presence has made a difference and has been effective. So thank you for that question. Okay, next we have here Me Time DIY with Erica. Well, hello there. Can Scientology members study in their home? Or do they have to move close to an organization or mission? P.S. Just curious, not joining another cult. So you are encouraged to study in your home. It's just if you're doing an official course, that course needs to be done in an org. But part of one of the things Miscavige has introduced is he's sort of made an extension course to go with almost anything. So like, whereas in times past, you might just sit at home and read your self-analysis book. Well, now there's a self-analysis extension course. And maybe there's always been, but now there's an extension course for every single Scientology book. And Miscavige did that so that you wouldn't have these 2 separate buckets of Scientologists, of people who are on course and people who are off course. He implemented the strategy. Everyone is always on a course, even if it's just an extension course, even if they're just turning in 1 lesson a week. What it means to be a Scientologist is to be on course. And that's what orgs are pushing these days. So yes, you are encouraged to study in your home. you're encouraged to be on an extension course. And in a perfect world, you'd be on a major course, which has to be done in an org. Excellent question. And yeah, glad you're not looking to join another cult. Thank you for that. Okay, what do we have here? Lavdax. Thank you for the super sticker. Much appreciated. And F Shopes, your favorite of LRH's texts. Well, I'll answer it this way. When I was in Scientology, my favorite policy letter was Structure of Organization, What is Policy? And that is because it's a policy letter that sort of gives a Scientology executive, it gives you sort of license. It gives you a license to do the things that policy says. It gives you a license to do the things that you'll hear everyone say can never be done with policy. You'll hear people say Scientology policy can never be changed, never be altered, never be canceled, never be any of this kind of stuff. Except the policy letter, Structure of Organization, What is Policy, does give an executive the authority to cancel policy. L. Ron Hubbard, in his own words, said that as an organization grows and moves through time, policy that was created at an earlier point in time to solve some problem may no longer be applicable, and even further, it may be destructive. And he says every now and then you have to go through and cull old policy and cancel as needed. And that policy, to me, as a Scientology executive, as a manager, put me in a frame of mind where I knew I didn't have to feel bound by old, stale, irrelevant, archaic rules that were holding me back, and that I could essentially do what I wanted to do as long as I felt it was really the right thing. And if anybody challenged me on it, I could show them Structure of Organization, What is Policy, and tell them to F off. And to be honest, that's how David Miscavige thinks as well. So yeah, I mean, these days, it'd be hard for me to, like, in present time, say that I have a favorite LRH text, because it's all just kind of ridiculous. I will say this. I loved the book Battlefield Earth. I loved the book Battlefield Earth. The movie was the worst movie ever made. But if you haven't read the book, don't knock it until you try it, guys. I mean, don't go buy it new. Don't give Scientology any money. You can probably just go to the dime store. Do they have dime stores anymore? I don't know, guys. I grew up in a cult. But I'm sure you can buy Battlefield Earth pretty much anywhere. It was a great book. And I'll admit, I also loved the Mission Earth books. All 10 of them. I probably read them and listened to them 3 times. I thought they were freaking great. But what do I know, guys? I grew up in a cult. All right. Next one here. Chris AQD knock. I don't know. You got me on this one. Chris Acuity. Chris Acuity. NOK must be the currency. Okay. A few decades ago, there were Scientology recruiters in Norway. Okay, this is Norwegian krona. Is that what it is? But then they suddenly disappeared. Do you know what happened? Where the hell did you run into Scientology recruiters in Norway? Is there a Scientology org in Norway? Let me look up biggest cities in Norway. Navik, Molde, Elverum, Sadness, Conover. I can tell you this. There ain't no Scientology organizations in Norway. So where would you have run into Scientology recruiters in Norway? The grocery store? And then they suddenly disappeared. You know why they disappeared? Because they were lost and then they got found. Somebody sent them an Uber and got them the hell out of there. They're like, what are you doing in Norway? You're 500 miles. Now there's more than one org in Sweden. They're like, you took a right turn instead of a left. You're supposed to be in Malmo or Göteborg, however you say that. Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 orgs in Sweden, but there's no orgs in Norway. And that might just be the answer to the question. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so Cat ACDC fan. There you go. Cat ACDC fan. That explains why Vilmer didn't hang out. I keep saying Vilmer, but is it Wilmer? No, it's got to be Vilmer, right? No, he couldn't possibly be a Wilmer, right? Wilmer Valderrama. It's Wilmer, isn't it? Wilmer Valderrama. Now I got to look up his name. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. Wilmer. It is Wilmer. I was saying Vilmer like this guy's German. This guy's not German. Wilmer Valderrama. My fault. Okay, that explains why Wilmer didn't hang out with the others from the show. They made it seem like he was just full of himself. Well, now hold on. Wilmer was really good friends with Ashton and Danny. To the best of my knowledge, it's Topher who wasn't really friends with all of them. That's the information that I have. Thank you for that, Kat. L Niche or LK Niche, the one they just opened in Chicago. Would I be able to just walk in and ask questions? Well, first off, they didn't just open in Oregon, Chicago. But second, yes, you would be. So there is a big, giant, renovated building that's been sitting there waiting to be opened for years now. But Chicago doesn't have enough staff members to open the org. So they're sort of like every day, every week, every month, Scientology threatens to open this thing, and they send out the call. They fly the bat signal to all orgs in the United States, trying to get staff members to Chicago so they can open this damn building, and they're never able to do it. However, even though the big building isn't open, there is some hole in the wall in Chicago that serves as the current Church of Scientology. You could walk into there and ask questions. The organization in Chicago is a Class 5 organization. That's where you're supposed to join Scientology. So that's where you're supposed to go in and ask questions. And that's where they're supposed to have the staff there properly equipped to help you join Scientology. Yeah, if you do, and you do a little experiment there, you go in and you take the test, you get the video tour. They sign you up for, personal values and integrity, success through communication, overcoming ups and downs in life. Yeah, I'm not suggesting you go in and sign up, but if you go in and try to see what it's like and see what their methods are and how they try to get you to sign up, let me know how it goes. That'd be an interesting story. All right, we got more here. Jennifer, have you ever watched Telltale, who's a former Jehovah Witness? No. Is Telltale someone's nickname? Or is that a channel run by a former Jehovah's Witness? In either case, the answer is no. Thank you for that. Okay, what do we have here? Care for JC YouTube. That's as close as I'm going to get on this one. On your 35,000 count, are the people who are in wise companies counted? Okay, if you are just a non-Scientologist who works for a company that is owned by a Scientologist, and that Scientologist is a wise member, the staff of that company do not count as Scientologists. And they're not. Those people aren't on Scientology's mailing list. They're not in Scientology's central files. They're not anywhere. There are large Scientology business consulting companies. Singer, MGE, Survival, Measurable Solutions. These companies are staffed by Scientologists. And those Scientologists are public at whatever their nearest Scientology org is. So those people are counted in the 35,000 because they're counted in the public category. Excellent question. Thank you for that one. Okay, we've got Amanda Payne, spelled, if that's Payne, I've never seen it spelled that way. Payne? Amanda Payne or Amanda Payne? If I've never been in Scientology, but tried to argue against it to my friend who married one, would I know if I'm a declared SP? Am I just an undeclared SP? A non-Scientologist who's never stepped foot into a Scientologist organization would never be declared an SP or even be an undeclared SP. Not this day and age. If you were like a documentarian, if you were Louis Theroux and you did a documentary exposing Scientology, yeah, you'd probably be considered an SP. But just being someone who's talking smack to a Scientologist or talking smack to your friend who's married to a Scientologist, nah, not an SP. Now, if your friend was in a Scientology ethics interview because they'd been sick or something, they were doing a PTS handling, and they were asked about anyone who was putting interbulation or suppression or N theta onto their lines, she'd probably mention you. And even then, you wouldn't be considered an SP. She would be instructed to handle your antagonism by filling the vacuum with true information. And she would try to enlighten you on Scientology, at least to the extent that you were no longer antagonistic. So yeah, so that's the answer to your question. They don't just think of everyone as an SP just because you talk smack about Scientology. Very good question, though. Thank you for that. Okay, we have Kat and Maggie. There are a couple of ex-FLDS, so that's fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, fundamentalist Mormons, polygamous Mormons. The fundamentalist Mormons are the ones who practice polygamy or believe it should be practiced. There are a couple of ex-FLDS charities out there. One I know of for certain is run by the Growing Up in Polygamy channel. Kat and Maggie, would you mind emailing me just basically the same thing you're telling me right now, and maybe put a link or two that the next time somebody contacts us who's a former Mormon, I can just search my email and find this? That would be really helpful. growingupinscientology@gmail.com. Thank you for that. That's very, very helpful. Terry Perry Lux. Hi, Goldie. Hi, Goldie. Hi, Aaron. Just wanted to say y'all are great. Everything y'all do to help people. And I got my Mike Rinder bobblehead today. Nice. Hey, wait, I thought your dog was an SP. Yes, but my dog is treated very well. And this actually goes to show you, even the Scientologist didn't want to disconnect from my dog. The Scientology MAA, the ethics officer, had to tell her to disconnect from my dog. So that speaks very highly to my Scientology neighbor, Sue. Her treatment towards her treatment of animals, feelings toward animals. The ethics officer at Flag, wouldn't even have their own pets. You can't have pets in the Sea Org. Only someone like David Miscavige is allowed to have pets in the Sea Org. When Debbie Cook was the captain FSO, the captain of Flag, she had a dog or two. Your average Sea Org member is not allowed to have pets. So good. You got your Mike Rinder bobblehead today. Actually, I'll tell you what, you guys. Oh my God, we're 90 minutes into this thing. Okay, so the fact that I'm going to say this now weeds out everyone else who didn't make it this far. I've been meaning to do this little game again. Whatever comment, not in the live chat, guys, but the comment of the video, whatever comment gets the most likes on this video, I'm going to send you a Mike Rinder bobblehead. Okay, how about that? We're 90 minutes in. I'm just announcing it now. That means only the hardcore dedicated viewers are going to be participating in this. Oh, by the way, we're going to mix it up because I want to make sure it's a comment. So look at this. It has to be a comment. How do make sure? What's the sign? Just say bobblehead. The comment has to have the word bobblehead somewhere in it. It doesn't even matter if it's sequitur. You could just make a comment and then just write bobblehead, or you could just write bobblehead and then make your comment, or you could make a comment and use bobblehead in a sentence. It doesn't matter. Whatever comment has the word bobblehead in it and gets the most likes, I'm going to send you a Mike Rinder bobblehead. Just having a little bit of fun. I'm glad, Terry, that you got your bobblehead. That is fantastic. All right, let's see what else we have here. Real Tour of Fort Worth by David Panel. That's a hell of a YouTube name here. So Real Tour of Fort Worth. So do you run a tour company? Do you actually run a tour company? That would be really cool. What happened to the Austin podcast? Did I miss it? You didn't miss it. It just hasn't come out yet. It didn't occur to me at the time, but my host had recorded a whole bunch of interviews that had not yet been published, and my host is working through them. And that's that. That is the simple answer. Tomorrow could be the day. Tomorrow, I'm looking at the schedule. It looks like tomorrow a video should be coming out. I'm hoping it's next, you guys. I'm as excited for this thing to come out as anyone else is, believe me. Okay, Scott Davidson. Any Chick Corea stories? I really like a lot of his stuff. It's crazy that such an accomplished artist contributed to those 80s LRH albums. the craziest Chick Corea story is that Chick Corea had basically gone bankrupt, and he had this recording studio in LA called Mad Hatter Studios. And David Miscavige bailed Chick Corea out of, I mean, whether it was actual bankruptcy or he was just going broke. I mean, some people have different definitions of what it means to be going broke. But when you're one of the most famous jazz musicians in the entire world, I mean, you have to wonder if Chick Corea was actually broke, it was probably because of how much money he gave to Scientology. I mean, how mismanaged must your finances be to go broke when you are Chick Corea? But anyway, he was in dire financial straits. David Miscavige bailed Chick Corea out by paying him a ridiculous amount of money to buy this studio from him. Whatever money Chick needed to fix his financial problems is what David Miscavige gave him in exchange for this tiny little crappy recording studio in LA that Scientology really had absolutely no use for. And now that they opened up Scientology Media Productions, Scientology really has no use for. That's a crazy story in my opinion, because David Miscavige just shows he'll throw around Scientology money to do whatever he wants, to do favors for whoever he wants. Anyone else would be declared in a second for doing something like that, for doing a favor for a Scientology public with Scientology's money. But you know, that's David Miscavige runs that show. So there you go. That's the only Chick Corea story. Like, I never knew Chick. I just never knew him. By all accounts, he was a great guy. Okay, let's see. The next one. I grew up in a cult. Is there anything funny or interesting you can think of about helping Catherine Olsen escape that you haven't shared before? Well, the problem with this question is that it's not my story. It's Kate's story. So if it hasn't been told, it's probably not my place to tell it. Not that anything comes, to mind really, but even if something did come to mind, I'm not sure that I would say it because I'm not sure that it would be my place. But Kate has told some very funny aspects to this story, including, I think even though she's the one, I hope I get this right, she's the one who specifically wanted to speak with Mark Headley, but she was so nervous about it that when she did call him and he answered the phone, she just hung up. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Christine Pino. Christine, thank you for the super sticker. Okay, here we go. Anhata Zazat. Is that a real name? Anhata Zazat. I almost want to Google that and see what language that must be or what country. OSA equals sci-fi spy. Mormons got their own Broadway musical. Oh my God, I wish there was a Scientology musical. And nobody would be better qualified to do the Scientology musical than Matt Parker. Is it Trey Parker and Matt Stone? Those guys. And I've still never seen the musical, that musical. Well, I wouldn't go to the musical. But wait, has that thing actually been broadcast? So the musical was called Mormon. It was just called Mormon, right? And I think I checked it out previously to see, did they put it on HBO? Can you go buy it on Amazon Prime or see it on Netflix? And I remember when I looked, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find anywhere where you could actually watch an authorized, sanctioned, published recording of that musical. So I've never seen it, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. And oh man, if only they would do one called Scientology. Wow, I would pay almost anything to see that. So OSA equals sci-fi spy. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you for that. Anhata Zazat. E. Miller. What do you know about Neil Gaiman's time in Scientology? Reading his books again after knowing he was raised in it gives them another level. Does he still have family in? I believe he does still have family in. And Mike Rinder would probably be one of the experts on the Gaiman story, because Mike worked with Neil's father. Neil's father was I think he was one of the senior public relations staff. What do they call him? LRHPPRO. I think his father was the LRHPPRO UK. I think so. He might have even been in the Guardian's office. Yeah. Mike Rinder would know all about that because I know next to nothing. My wife is one of the biggest Neil Gaiman fans in the world. I don't happen to love that genre of books. Like I don't like reading them. I very much enjoy the programming, the TV programming and movie programming that has been done based on his books. I found those incredible. But yeah, so unfortunately, I don't really have a lot to provide in response to this question, but that's a great one to ask Mike. And once Mike gets a little more comfortable with this streaming platform and everything, I can only imagine Mike's going to have some pretty fantastic Q&As. I mean, if you think it's fun getting questions answered from me or Mark Headley, just imagine getting them answered directly from Mike and all the stories that he's got to tell. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope he does a lot of those. Thank you for that, emailer. Okay, let's see. Carla M. Forbes. What happens if a Scientologist asks when LRH is coming back? Excellent question. Guys, I have never met a Scientologist other than the ones who worked at the International Management Base who thinks LRH is coming back. This is one of the craziest things to consider, that the Sea Org members working at the International Base, there was 2 or 3 different types of communications from L. Ron Hubbard that implied in various ways that after he died, he'd be back in about 10 to 20 years. And yet that is something that was only told to the people at the International Base. All of the other Scientologists in the world were actually told something completely different, that LRH was going off to Target 2. And when I say told, L. Ron Hubbard had said in his own writings, he had implied. I remember he directly said it, but I've tried to go back and find the things, and it's only kind of implied that he was going off to Target 2 and Scientology was in good hands. And tomorrow or many more tomorrows, he would see you up the line at Target 2. And that's why we were led to believe he'd laid out all the OT levels up through 15. He'd delivered them to management for release at the appropriate time. We were led to believe there was no reason for L. Ron Hubbard to come back. He'd already done everything he needed to do. He was going to go off to Target 2 and get Scientology kickstarted there. I swear to God, you guys, I've never, ever met or spoken to a Scientologist other than the ones who worked at the International Base who thought L. Ron Hubbard was coming back. Now, on this channel, I now very colloquially refer to this L. Ron Hubbard coming back thing because it sort of speaks to the issue of what is real Scientology. Is real Scientology the bullshit that the masses are tricked into believing, or is real Scientology what the core at the top was told? I think I tend to come down on the side of real Scientology is what the core at the top were told. Real Scientology is what L. Ron Hubbard said to them when no one else was listening. And that was, I'm coming back. So that's why I sort of act like that is what Scientologists believe now. But the truth is, most Scientologists never thought he was coming back. They actually thought he specifically was not coming back. Thank you for that, Carla. Oh, so therefore they would never ask that question. Okay. Russ T. DM and Shelly divorced, California community property, big fast settlement. To the best of anybody's guess, and that includes Mike Rinder, they are not divorced. They would still be married. If they were divorced, there would be paper trail. There would be evidence of that, and there isn't. And also, I think it would actually potentially Miscavige would be more exposed if he did divorce Shelly instead of staying married to her. Anyway, the best guess right now is that they're still married. Thank you for that, Rusty. Colleen's review and stories. Do you think Tom Cruise would ever publicly leave Scientology? Personally, do I think that? No. But I also never thought Mike Rinder would ever publicly leave Scientology. So we can always hope. Thank you for that. Fan ranker, where's the whiskey or rum? Guys, I told you, it's just diet root beer. And the reason I don't drink it is because it's carbonated. And if I drink it, I'm going to want to burp. Oh, I love root beer, you guys. Whew. And it's kind of flat, so I don't have to burp. Good news for everybody. All right. What else do we got here? Okay, here we go. Melanie Walton, do you still have the pallet wall in the house? Concerned about your health. Some wood looked moldy. No offense intended. Love the look. When you say, do you still have the pallet wall? Well, I have this wall, but here's what I think you're really talking about. Do you still have the pallet wall in the house you recorded at previously? And is that wood still there because it looked moldy? That's a good question. I was going to say this stuff can't be moldy because, well, I power washed the hell out of it before I put it up. And plus, I keep this place air conditioned at 66 degrees. There's no mold growing on this stuff. I'm going to make the same argument for the wood at my house. Because this isn't my house that I live in that I record here. The pallet wall is still up in the house. It's not moldy, even if it looked moldy. If you touch it, it's not moldy. There's no water leaking there. And this is the recording space. I keep this at 66 degrees. I do keep the house at 70 degrees. Ain't no mold growing on those walls. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Oh, LJ again. LJ Vesterpeel. Sorry, I meant Jen idea of stopping Scientology from breaking up families. Okay. I meant general idea of stopping Scientology from breaking up families, etc. Who do you hold accountable beyond David Miscavige? How far out does responsibility and accountability extend? Okay. I don't think you can stop Scientology from breaking up families. Okay, let me see. Let me organize my thoughts here. David Miscavige personally and single-handedly directs how ethics policies are implemented and applied, and honestly, how technical bulletins are implemented and applied. That is not an exaggeration. David Miscavige single-handedly directs how policy and tech and ethics are applied in Scientology. Full stop. It is within Miscavige's power to more responsibly and compassionately and sensibly apply Scientology's policies about disconnection. Baked into the policies about disconnection are when you should not disconnect. David Miscavige himself is personally responsible for the widespread and disgusting violations of this policy. Now, I realize some people are going to hear what I'm saying going, oh, you're saying the policy is great and it's Miscavige and it's bad. That's not what I'm saying. The policy is all ridiculous. But you can take any policy, ridiculous or otherwise, and apply it in a sensible way if you want to. That's just common sense. So when you say, okay, so the idea of stopping Scientology from breaking up families, the best way to stop Scientology from breaking up families is to get everybody to leave Scientology. Leave Scientology and get your family members to leave with you. That's what I would like to see happen. Now, if you want to just look at it from the perspective of Scientology and some version of reforming Scientology, it is within Miscavige's power to create some change in policy where families are not broken up. Now, you could make an argument, yeah, but if he were to do that, Scientology would fall apart. Yeah, probably. But it's still within Miscavige's power to do whatever the hell he wants to do. So the responsibility for this really does go right to David Miscavige. And that's not just a simplistic way of looking at it. It really, really does. Anyone at any level of the ethics and justice apparatus of Scientology, from IJC to senior HCO, to the Kant HCO, to local HCOs and all this stuff, they're all doing exactly what David Miscavige tells them to do. So I want to see Scientology's tax exemption stripped away. I want to see people leave Scientology. I want to see people leave the Sea organization. That's what the Aftermath Foundation is here to help people do, to leave Scientology, leave the Sea Org when they don't have resources. They need resources to help them do that. That's what I'm dedicated to. Miscavige can keep shooting himself in the foot and destroying Scientology, and that's all great too. Do you know what I'm saying? So I hope I'm answering like each part of your question. I think I've addressed each part of your question. Thank you for that, and thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. Okay, Ronnie. It's either Laughlin or Laughlin. I'm going with Laughlin. Before you blew the religion, what was your biggest WTF is garbage moment, either with the tech or another person? Well, one answer comes to mind, and I'll give you this answer. This answer wasn't like some watershed moment for me. It's not like this was, what put me on the path to mentally leaving Scientology, but it is the biggest WTF moment that just immediately comes to mind here. So in Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard has this concept of all accidents and all illness to a greater or lesser degree stem directly and only from a PTS condition. PTS means potential trouble source. Potential trouble source means you are connected to a source of suppression, someone who is suppressing you. So he says all illness, all accidents stem directly and only from a PTS condition. And people in Scientology apply that to the letter. They interpret that literally and they act accordingly. Oh, by the way, there's other policies that are like, but there's such a thing as pretended PTS and false PTS. And one of them has to do with evil purposes, and people with unhandled evil purposes can act like they're PTS. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, and by the way, you can also be PTS. There's these other steps of, I always get false and pretended mixed up, to be honest. One of them is unhandled evil purposes. The other one, there's like 4 or 5 different ways you can be that thing. I just can't remember if it's 4 or 5 ways to be false PTS or 4 or 5 ways to be pretended PTS. I always get them mixed up. One of the ways you can appear PTS is not knowing enough Scientology, lack of understanding of Scientology basics. And you go, oh, Jesus. So this thing just goes in a circle. All accidents and illness stem from a PTS condition, but you can appear PTS by not knowing enough Scientology. And you're like, oh, so the whole thing's ridiculous then. You've created something that is circular in logic and unfalsifiable, and therefore it is total bullshit. And I totally checked out on any idea that PTS was even a thing, other than the obvious idea of like, look, if you got a lot of stress going on in your life, if you have someone who is treating you like garbage and putting you down, sure, you can get sick. That to me is just sort of common sense-ish. Various things affect the immune system. Emotional issues can affect the immune system. To me, these things are just sort of common sense-ish, and Scientology sort of accidentally hits on that. But this whole idea of like, oh, PTS is a real, very specific and important thing, and it needs to be handled. I just threw that right in the garbage. And yeah, that's an answer for you. Thank you for that. Excellent question. Here's Kate. Oh, look. Oslo, Oregon is in Norway. Good. I just Googled that's why I Googled what are the biggest cities in Norway? Because I figured that Org would be there. Is Oslo just not a big city? What are the biggest cities in Norway? Oslo, number 1. Gosh darn it. There you go. Made a fool out of me again. Sorry, guys. I grew up in a cult. I don't know what I'm doing. Oslo is in Norway, and Oslo is an org. So I still want to know where this guy ran into Sea Org recruiters, though. The recruiters were there, and then they disappeared. Oh, maybe. Okay, so maybe the guy was actually, no, he said he'd never been in Scientology. Now I'm getting it mixed up, guys. So maybe the guy was just in Norway org, and he said the Sea Org recruiters came, and then they disappeared. But the Sea Org recruiters would have come from Denmark. And Denmark's not really that far away from Oslo, at least not the way we Americans would think about it. So I still don't understand the whole recruiters in Norway comment. But thank you for that, Kate. Much appreciated. Downtown Abbey, please have Ian Rafalco back. He knew Frank Suarez. Actually, Ian Rafalco is the one who sent me the information about Frank Suarez that I did the video on. Ian knows that anytime he wants to chat about anything, he can just shoot me a message and we'll do. I'm always looking for something to do a video about. You know what I'm saying? So, but Ian knows anytime he has anything he wants to discuss with me in a video, he can text me and we'll be live in 5 minutes. All right. Thank you for that. The Copper Mustache. If Dianetics is such a great book, why has TC not made it into a movie? Well, I'm not sure if you're kidding. I don't know. You can't. It's not a screenplay, man. It's not a screenplay. Actually, you know what? I think one of the closest things to Dianetics being made into a movie was Will Smith's movie that he did with his son Jaden called After Earth. Very Dianetics-like. Okay, thank you for that one. Diane Barbero. Has John Travolta left Scientology? I heard that after his wife died, he started to pull away from Scientology. Well, you heard that in the tabloids, and the tabloids are full of shit. Now, that being said, I have sort of speculated, alluded, hinted that John has distanced himself from Scientology as well. And that's because of things that I hear behind the scenes that he's doing and people that he's in touch with. And I go, this dude's obviously distancing himself from Scientology, right? And then I'll hear from other people who also know John, and they're like, no, John's always done this. John does whatever the hell he wants to do. John's behavior is such that you would think he wasn't really a Scientology believer. And I'm not talking about the gay stuff. I'm only partly talking about the gay stuff. And yet somehow John lives a life that is not actually consistent with being a Scientology believer. And he also still happens to be a Scientology believer. It's some of the craziest. I don't actually know how to explain it. I really don't. I truly don't know how to explain it. But if I had to say definitively, is he distancing himself from Scientology? As I sit here right now, I would have to say no, just based on what I'm hearing. Thank you for that question. Okay, Danny Yates. Well, Danny, thank you for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Okay, this next one here. Nancy CO1. I'm confused, but here we go. Hey, Aaron, I don't know anyone in Scientology and don't think there are any in Rhode Island, but I love watching you and Mike and Mark and Claire. I hope every little bit helps. Is there anything at all you miss most about Scientology? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm not aware of any Scientology in Rhode Island either. The only thing I miss about Scientology is my friends. Lots of good friends in Scientology. Now, in some respects, you start to recontextualize. Well, are they really my friends because they really didn't care about this and da 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 da. Common experiences form bonds and friendships, and and I could go on this for a while. But the truth is, there are a lot of good friends I had in Scientology who, if they left Scientology, it would be a lot of fun to have them as friends again. Other than that, everything else can go in the trash. Thank you for that. Oh, I meant Topher. Oh, good. I wondered if you did. Yeah, you meant Topher. That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. Oh, here we go. MU4990. Hey, Ron, I was down near Flag last weekend, and there's a few open Scientology buildings on Cleveland and Fort Harrison. Should I go in next time? Yeah, so you're talking about the Clearwater Bank building on the corner of Fort Harrison and Cleveland, and the Clearwater Bank building is on the northeast corner, and it is where Scientology always has its open house, all welcome, unless me or Mike Rinder or Mark Bunker are walking down the street, in which case the security cameras spot us from a mile away and they pull the door shut and they pull the welcome sign in the door. You could go in. It won't be particularly interesting. You might end up on a mailing list, but you could always give them false information, give them a false email address or whatever. It's an open house. They say all welcome. So you might as well, if you have a Mike Rinder bobblehead on you or anything like that, they won't let you in. They'll ask you to leave. And if you don't leave, they will call the police to trespass you. But yeah, you could totally give it a shot. And if you do give it a shot, let me know how it goes. All right, let's see. I got another one here. Maxwell Edison's mom again. Have you seen the movie The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix? That's not so loosely based on Scientology. What is your thoughts? I have seen the movie. It is completely based on Scientology. The only reason, in my opinion, that Paul Thomas Anderson did not very specifically say that it was about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology was because of his relationship with Tom Cruise. Paul Thomas Anderson had just done a movie with Tom Cruise. Was it Vanilla Sky? Was it Magnolia? Which one did Paul Thomas Anderson do? One of those two. And I thought it was pretty incredible that Paul Thomas Anderson would go from doing a movie with Tom Cruise to doing a movie about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology that made L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology look horrible. Now, I know they didn't use the word Scientology in the movie. I know they didn't call the guy L. Ron Hubbard, but that might as well have been a movie about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology. And Paul Thomas Anderson knew it, and so did Tom Cruise know it. So those are my thoughts. How cool would it be to see a movie like that that was actually overtly about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology? That would be amazing. Would people go and see that? That would be incredible. Anyway, fingers crossed. Maybe someday somebody will have the balls to do that. Okay, Diane Barbero. Thank you, Diane, for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Steve Britton. How you doing, Steve? When it comes to a PTS handling, what is the procedure? What is said? How often does it actually work? If I try to do this from memory, I'm not going to do it well. But it's essentially, has anyone been giving you a hard time? I mean, you have non-metered PTS handlings and you have metered PTS handlings. It is really just essentially trying to get you to come up with something that is acted as N theta or suppression, or something that has restimulated an earlier time of you being given N theta. N theta is just like bad news, negative emotions, that kind of stuff. And then you have to come up with a who. Like, who was it? Who is the person? Who was the source of this suppression or whatever acted as suppression? And then when you have a who, they just go, well, do you want to handle or do you want to disconnect? And you're instructed to handle, if at all possible. And handling is just what I said before, fill the vacuum. L. Ron Hubbard says if someone's antagonistic to Scientology, it's because they don't understand Scientology. They have false data. They have false information. They had a vacuum of information, and the vacuum was filled with false data. So you have to fix the false data by educating them on Scientology, at least to the point where they're no longer antagonistic. It's actually really stupid simple. The problem is when you try to sit someone down for a PTS handling, and instead of being cooperative and giving up something that can be handled, they just sit there and they're like, I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. And then things get serious. Then auditing is involved. Now this person can't be on registration lines. Now this person can't be an executive because you're not supposed to have anyone who's PTS on the income lines or certain executive lines. I wonder if Chris Shelton must have done a video about this, right? He kind of does things like that. You know, and maybe one of these days I will dig up the bulletin. I don't have the sets of bulletins anymore, but I'll dig up something and maybe I'll do a video about that. It would be pretty interesting. That's a good idea for a video. So there you go, Steve. I hope I gave you a little bit of info there, but hopefully I can address that more in depth very shortly. Thank you again, Shay Anderson. Thank you for the super sticker, Shay. I appreciate that. Kermit 1. Are body routers allowed to go out with wogs? There are some attractive ones that hang out by the train station near L. Ron Hubbard Way in the Pac base. So Kermit, if the body router is a Sea Org member, then no, they cannot go out with a wog. If the body router is a staff member, then yes, they can go out with a wog. Now, the body routers that you would be seeing hanging out by the train station, which is hilarious to me, because LA Org was transitioned from a non-Sea Org to a Sea Org, chances are any body router that you see in Los Angeles is a Sea Org member. But you can always ask, wouldn't that be a funny pickup line or whatever, funny intro? Hey, are you a Sea Org member or are you Class 5 staff? That would actually blow their minds. Say, hey, are you Sea Org? Are you an ESSA member or are you Class 5 staff? Are you Class 5 staff or are you an ESSA member? Be like, what? Who are you? Oh, are you a Scientologist? And you'd be like, no, okay. I was going to get dirty really fast, so we're going to skip that. But do that. Ask them if they're a Sea Org member or a Class 5 staff member. Oh, cracking myself up. All right. Jason Cow On a previous Q&A, said neighbor was architect. Oh, you said neighbor was an architect who worked on Scientology orgs in Europe. Yes, I remember that. He said the architectural firm allowed only one employee to interact with Scientologists because worried they would steal credit identities. Oh, they were afraid Scientology would steal credit identities. Wow. Okay, I'm going to read this again. On a previous Q&A, I said my neighbor was an architect who worked on Scientology orgs in Europe. He said the architectural firm allowed only one employee to interact with Scientologists because they were worried they would steal credit and identities. That is incredible. Even the people Scientology, even the professionals that Scientology is paying good money to work for them, don't trust them. Absolutely amazing. Thank you for that, Jason. Riz's wifey. Hey, Aaron, how far on the bridge did you and your wife get? Sorry, I'm getting a little phlegmy. Me personally, you're not going to believe this. The purification rundown was as much of Scientology's bridge as I did. I had a lot of auditing. It just wasn't a lot of bridge auditing. My wife had attested to the state of clear, but I can't remember if she attested to past life clear or if she did a bunch of new era Dianetics, this lifetime. And anyway, that doesn't, I say that because attesting to past life clear without actually doing a lot of new era Dianetics auditing doesn't actually mean anything. Like, you didn't do the bridge if you just attested to some shit you allegedly did in a last lifetime. Do you see what I mean? So if somebody did a lot of new era Dianetics auditing in this lifetime, the only one I'm aware of, and attested to clear, even though I don't believe in the state of clear, I at least feel like that counts as actually doing the bridge, getting up the bridge. Anyway, my wife did attest to the state of clear. And she did also have a lot of auditing in addition to that as well. So, but there you go. Yeah, I literally, purification rundown. I never even did my objectives because my OCA graph was above the center line and I had no drug history. So at that time, if your OCA was above the center line and you had no drug history, you weren't made to do the drug handlings, which is purification rundown, drug rundown, and the objectives. So it wasn't until I was like 20 that I did the purification rundown. And that was just kind of for the hell of it. So yeah, there you go. Okay, I see a new one here. Shay again. Hey, Shay. I use YouTube and YouTube TV, and I can't escape Balance of Nature ads. Help me. Is it because I watch you? God, I really don't think it's because you watch me. There's no way Balance of Nature is targeting ads to people who watch Scientology. Because why do they give a shit whether you watch Scientology? They just want you to buy vitamins, watch Scientology content on YouTube. I've never seen a Balance of Nature ad in my life. Now, I don't watch, a lot of political programming, at least not live. If I watch political programming, I watch it on YouTube. And I pay for YouTube Premium, which means I don't see ads on YouTube. And therefore, I've literally never seen a Balance of Nature ad. The fact that you see them all the time is incredible. Now, look, if you have entered for any reason Balance of Nature into Google or YouTube, yeah, you're going to be stuck seeing those ads. But it's not because you watch me. I really don't think it's because you watch me. That's really funny, though. But now here's what's funny, though. If you watched my video about Ben Shapiro and Balance of Nature is in the title, and it's also in the hashtag. So now maybe YouTube thinks you're watching Balance of Nature content. Maybe now Google thinks now you're interested in Balance of Nature. It'll be interesting to see if you actually start seeing even more ads. I mean, if you watch my channel, you're going to see Grant Cardone ads all the time. You're going to see ads for all the Tom Cruise movies. People see so many Tom Cruise and Grant Cardone ads on my stuff. It's so funny. Jackson is here. Gary Jackson Moorhead. I used to play softball with Danny every weekend for many years. And yes, the entire 70s show cast used to frequent our games. and Topher never showed, but the rest did, as well as at the parties I attended with Danny. Jackson, I had no idea. I'll have to talk to you about this. Maybe I saw you did a thing with Claire. Maybe I'll bring you on my channel and talk about your softball games with Danny. How the hell were you playing softball with Danny in the 70s cast? Where was this happening? We have to talk about this, man. That would be fun. What is today? Friday? Maybe we'll do a chat about that next week if you're interested. I'll text you. I'll text you afterwards and we'll set it up. That's fascinating. I don't know what it is. Ann Burrow. Hi from Perth. Do you know of any Aussie ex-members who have a YouTube channel? Yes, I do, Ann. It's a gentleman by the name of Mike Rinder. You might have heard of him. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel. He got 10,000 subscribers overnight. So, I mean, Mike's Australian. Do I know of any? I cannot think of any other Australian former Scientologists or Sea Org members who have a YouTube channel. But maybe now that you're asking, and now that someone might be watching from Australia going, really? There's no one else? So the market's wide open? I could have the whole market to myself? Maybe they'll jump into it. I hope so. That would be fun. ABC Mouse Connection. History with Scientology from F. Shopes. ABC Mouse was founded by Doug Doring, who's been a Scientologist for over a generation. Doug Doring's kids have all been born and raised in Scientology. Doug Doring also, he had created Neopets. Doug Doring made a fortune on Neopets. Then Doug Doring created ABC Mouse. And Doug Doring has given millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to Scientology. That's the connection to ABC Mouse. There's no, none of the ABC Mouse curriculum is like, there's no secret Scientology stuff going on in that curriculum. But yeah, the company and the wealth, the wealth that Doug Doring has, that ABC Mouse has contributed to, a good portion of that wealth goes to Scientology. It's a fact. Okay. Jana and H. Scientology sucks. Do a Reckless Ben interview and I will buff your handsome dome, bobblehead. It never occurred to me to ask them for an interview. And I'm not sure why. Maybe that would be a fun interview. Yeah, maybe I'll ask them if they want to do an interview. I'll check that out. But yeah, this dome's already shiny. Thank you, Jana. All right, Kevin. Kevin, how does Scientology deal with empty orgs? It has to be extremely off-putting to new people doing basic courses. Do they fake it somehow? No. They don't fake it, because to fake it, you'd have to have people. You'd have to have people to bring in to like fake it. But if they had the people, they wouldn't have to fake it. And they can't afford to hire people. So how do they fake it? They don't fake it. You walk into an org, it's empty. And it's awkward. And it's embarrassing, and there's nothing they can do about it. Now, one way to answer your question is that if they buy a new 10-story building, they're only going to occupy the first 2 floors. They're going to leave all the vacant floors up top. That would be ridiculous. They're not going to let the executives be on the 10th floor and then have like 8 empty floors and then have all the operational, staff on the bottom 2 floors. So, it really is off-putting to new people walking into an org and just having it be completely empty. All right, we got another one here. Debbie Logan, are the Clintons in Scientology? If not, look, Scientology didn't want them either. No, the Clintons are not in Scientology. And neither are the Trumps, and neither were the Bushes. And I think the most influential politician who ever had anything to do with Scientology was Sonny Bono. And yeah. Okay, Gary Jackson. I distinctly remember walking through the house, thinking he'd been sleeping, walking, eating here one day. This on top of learning later he did secretly visit the base while I was on watch one late in the 80s. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Jackson? I distinctly remember walking through the house, thinking he'd been sleeping, walking, eating Here one day. This on top of learning later, he did secretly visit the base while I was in Washington. I don't know who you're talking about, Jackson. Let me know. Sorry about that. Was Nicole Kidman at the Directors Guild or the Golden Globe Awards? I saw someone comment that she was at the Directors Guild Awards, but I didn't see any video evidence of that. And I kind of wondered why she would be there. Like, I don't know what movies she's done lately. I haven't been keeping up. Was she in a movie that the director was nominated for? I don't even know. But I did see a comment that she was there. And I thought, oh boy, I bet she loved that. If anyone sees video of Nicole Kidman in the audience of the Directors Guild Awards, send it to me. I didn't see anybody mention anything about Nicole with respect to the Golden Globes. Okay. L.K. Niche. That is why Shelly is still there. She's waiting for LRH. Exactly. Real Tour of Fort Worth by David Panel. Haha, no, I'm a broker in Fort Worth. Okay, real estate broker. Oh, Realtor. Wait, Realtor. Why does it say Real Tour then? That's great. So you're a real estate broker in Fort Worth. Fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. Well, thank you again. Thank you again for that. Okay. Splinkly Mishmash. I assume you've been hearing about more Scientology orgs closing since you did the math on 35,000 being the max number of Scientologists there could be. So what's the new calculation? Scientology orgs don't close. Now, you might be referring to, I was talking about Day and Foundation orgs being combined. Oh, yeah. I was talking about the Celebrity Center orgs closed. Although technically they were combined. So the Celebrity Center orgs really are kind of a unique beast unto themselves. Closing a Celebrity Center by merging it with its nearest local org is a violation of policy, but it's sort of like if you were going to be able to get away with closing any orgs, it's going to be those. You're never going to have one of these orgs that's like the only org in the city. See, that's the thing about the Celebrity Centers. They were always next to real orgs. CC Portland next to Portland. CC Dallas next to Dallas. CC Las Vegas next to the Las Vegas org. CC Dusseldorf. Was there a Dusseldorf org? I actually don't know. CC Munich was next to the Munich org. That's, if you're going to get away with closing any orgs, it's those. But most Scientology orgs, it's the only org in the city. Philly, Chicago, Detroit, Austin. I mean, there's only about 40 actual orgs in the United States. There's less than 200 in the entire world. Those orgs will never close. Miscavige could never justify that. Those orgs, there's no debt. There's no mortgages. There's no debt on any of these buildings. Scientology doesn't pay property tax. The only expense they have is like water and electric. And even then, Scientology can very oftentimes not even be able to afford those bills. Did you guys see remember I did a video, Johannesburg North organization, they ran up an electric bill of, what was it? $120,000. And they had their power shut off. What the hell was I just saying? Oh yeah. In the calculation that I did, I had, I believe I already accounted for the Celebrity Centers closing. And no other orgs closed. So actually the calculation didn't need to be updated. Thank you, Splinky Mishmash. And actually in the calculation, I did miss something. Like, for example, I missed the Continental Management Office for the UK. Somehow I left off the CLO UK. And in one of my calculations up top, for my calculations for staff members, I used 200 orgs. And for my calculations for the public, I accidentally had left that at 175 orgs. So even then, my numbers were a little low. Even though my estimates were generous. Do you see what I mean? It all kind of comes out in the wash in the end. 35,000 is still like, again, those are still L. Ron Hubbard is coming back and announcing OT 9 and 10 numbers. You ain't getting 35,000 members any other way. Thank you for that, Splinky. Okay, Kathy O'Toole. What would happen if all Scientologists just said no disconnection? Yeah, Miscavige would be screwed. If all Scientologists just said, Nope. Miscavige would be screwed. But that's the same thing that would happen to Kim Jong-un if all the North Koreans just rose up and said, you're out of here, buddy. And yet that will never happen, will it? Such is the nature of the mental control and conditioning that exists in these high control groups, these cults. And yeah, he's got him right where he wants him. Okay, Nikki R. God, what is going on? I got nothing left. I got no water, nothing. Okay, Nikki R. Love, I can get home from grabbing a couple drinks and still catch a live. What's your drinking game? Seriously, though, thank you for all you do. No drinking game tonight. I got to tell you, after I did that freaking drinking Q&A 2 weeks ago, I was sick for 12 days. Obviously not as a direct result from drinking, but I coincided. I got a head cold. I was sick for 12 days. I mean, I'm still only like 98% better. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we were even doing a birthday party celebration at the Dunedin House of Beer tonight, and was there the whole time. Didn't have a single beer. I was like, I just can't. Kicks my butt. I can't do it. So anyway, thanks for watching, Nikki. I appreciate it. We're probably going to be wrapping up here. I can't quite tell how many questions are left, but who the hell cares? It's Friday night. I got nowhere to go. All right. What do we have here from Nowhere Stairs? Is there a Scientology presence in Massachusetts, New England? Yes, there's an org in Boston. It's one of the oldest orgs. It used to be one of the biggest, most successful orgs. Sort of. It was all stat pushed, really. But yeah, there's been an org there in Boston. I'm sure it's a total piece of crap right now. But if you search Church of Scientology of Boston, you'll find it. Hey, if you ever go by and take some photos, send them to me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. I'd be happy to post them or do something with them. Okay, we got one. Asher Coben. I expect a reply from Ben Shapiro. He doesn't hide. I would love for Ben Shapiro to respond to the video that I did today. That would be amazing. It would be absolutely incredible if the video I did today actually resulted in Ben Shapiro dropping those guys as a sponsor. Let me see. What is the name of that company again? Balance of Nature. Could you imagine if Ben dropped Balance of Nature as a sponsor because they are enablers of a human trafficking cult that sends its so-called clergy members to the clinic to terminate pregnancies? That would be incredible. If that happens, you can be gosh darn sure I'll be doing a video about that. We can only hope. Okay, we got another one here from L Niche or LK Niche. We'll never know. So I heard DM broke his leg. So was he just exempt from this policy? Oh, no. When David Miscavige broke his leg, he 100% would have gotten a PTS handling. It's not necessarily considered shameful to need or get a PTS handling. And if you're in Miscavige's shoes, it's very easy to justify why you would need a PTS handling. He can say, I'm the one directly responsible for confronting and shattering the SPs of Earth. And sometimes it takes its toll because I'm surrounded by all you SPs who are making my life difficult. You are my suppressive items. You are all my suppressive items. Yeah, no, Miscavige totally would have gotten a PTS handling after he broke his leg. Thank you for that question. Deanna, just to raise awareness, Scientology in the Denver area is using the Meetup app. I found several online events in the app created by them. I have heard this I've heard this happening in a lot of cities. It really is just such an act of desperation. Do you know how Scientology used to bring people into the orgs? They would just stand outside on the sidewalk right in front of the orgs with little leaflets for films and tests, and they would bring people in. They didn't have to do all this crazy stuff like scheduling events on the Meetup app. Orgs are supposed to be located in areas that have so much foot traffic that all you have to do is stand outside, hand shit out, and body route people inside. That was like one of the major items, the successful formula that caused Scientology to be able to expand in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. And Miscavige has just screwed the pooch on the whole thing. Most of these big orgs are parked off somewhere where there's almost no foot traffic at all. Just ridiculous. Okay, we got one here. Yeah, cheers. What is the relevance and importance of the book Scientology, A History of Man? Is it true a lot of space opera is in there, but beginners can read? Yes, totally true. As far as the relevance and importance, other people might have different answers and opinions on this. I find it to have no relevance and importance. It doesn't really factor into anything. It's not like you're supposed to read this book and then do anything with it in auditing. Back when it was first released, Scientology auditing was structured differently. I do believe that back when L. Ron Hubbard originally wrote that book, I might be getting it confused with another book that was called What to Audit. And I can't remember if these were two separate books or if What to Audit was renamed History of Man. I'm confused on that. Memory is a shaky thing. It is quite possible that when LRH originally released History of Man, that auditors were intended to take the book and go in and audit these incidents on their pre-clears. I don't distinctly remember. Well, I wasn't around back then. I just don't remember knowing if that was something that happened back then. In modern day Scientology, that book has no specific importance and relevance. It's sort of an embarrassing book. It's kind of embarrassing even to Scientologists. Sort of like, ooh, amazing, interesting. We don't really know what to think of this, but okay, L. Ron Hubbard wrote it, so we got to read it. And yeah, it's just kind of weird. And yes, anyone can buy and read that book, technically. I wonder though, like if you were to actually walk into an org and say, I want the History of Man book, they would probably go, what you really need is Dianetics, and just insist on selling it to you. I would actually be quite surprised if they would let you just walk in and buy the book. But it's not like it's against the rules. 20 years ago, you could walk in and buy that book easily. Today, could you walk in and buy the book? Technically, yes. But in practice, could you? I wonder. Thank you for that question. Lauren Tracy. For us SPs that love to watch you, but we're never actually in Scientology, what are the best ways we can help bring this cult down besides donating to the Aftermath? Okay, so one of the best answers here, if you're an American, you can send letters, to the House Means and Ways Committee and the Senate Means and Ways Committee. I always say this wrong. Is it Ways and Means or Means and Ways? Give me a moment while I Google this. Ways and Means Committee. The House Committee on Ways and Means. Okay. I believe there's a House committee and I believe there's a Senate committee. Let me actually just... Now I'm not sure if there's a Senate committee. Is it just a House committee? Ways and Means Committee members. Gosh darn it. I can't quite tell. Okay. Anyway, guys, let me get back to my screen here. Okay. The Ways and Means Committee is responsible for setting the budget of, I believe, the IRS. And what you want to do is look up the members of that committee and see if any of those members is your congressional representative. And if they are, send them a letter saying you want the IRS you want them to do something about Scientology. You want them to do something about Scientology's tax exemption. You want them to demand that the IRS initiate a review of Scientology's tax exemption. And guys, this is real advice. This isn't like, oh, put up a petition on change.org. Screw the petitions. Stop with the petitions, everybody. They're pointless. Inundate the members of the Ways and Means committees with letters from their constituents demanding that the IRS initiate a review of Scientology's tax exempt status. That's something anyone and everyone can do. On the back end, the legal stuff, working with the FBI, working with the IRS, working with attorneys general, all that kind of stuff. I'd say leave that to the pros. Anyone in the United States can do this thing with sending letters to the members of the Ways and Means Committee, and it is effective. So thank you for that question. That's a really good one. Okay, Downtown Abbey. Trying to imagine the types of movies DM watches. Well, we know from actual documented historical fact that some of the movies David Miscavige likes watching most is the Skinamax soft core movies in that he watches late at night. You guys think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. Hey, he's got to get by without Shelly somehow, you guys. And that's how he does it. I'm not kidding. This is an actual story. I'm not going to retell the whole story. It's Mark Headley tells the story the best. But yeah, he's a filthy little guy. Okay. Look, we got Mark Headley in the house. Blown for good. Is that a set of e-meter cans in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Actually, yeah. No, it was just this. Oh, that's about, so he made that comment at 11:38. So I'm only 22 minutes behind him on my super chats here. Not bad. Welcome to the party, Marcus. All right, let's see. Nested Ward. Can you make up a title for your post in your channel? Chairman of the channel is too on the nose. Oh, can you make up a title for your post? Oh shit, that would be funny. I'll have to give that some thought. Something that could just be like it's a joke. I mean, Miscavige is already Captain Keebler. I want to call him Captain Keebler. I used to call him the Keebler King. I want to call him Captain Keebler. Mark has also named him the Boss Baby. So Captain Keebler, the Boss Baby of Scientology. I mean, that is perfect. But if I had a funny title for myself, I'll have to think about that. I'd kind of rather not give myself a title, but you know, if we could think of something funny, who knows? Maybe it would feel appropriate. Thank you for that, Nested. What do we have? Fido'ville super sticker. Thank you for that very much. Let's see timestamps here. 11:40. I come about 25 minutes. Oh, another one there. I must have messed up on my scrolling. Okay, guys, we might be getting close to the end here. Oh, E. Miller is back. Hey, Aaron, did you have any not secret ambitions for yourself within Scientology, a job or a post? PSE stands for Elizabeth. Well, thank you for that, Elizabeth. So here's the thing. There was a time in 1998, from 1998 to the year 2000, I was sort of on a hiatus from Scientology. And during that time, I smoked some reefer. And that made me, in Scientology, what they call a drug revert. And so by the time I joined the Sea Org, I was not eligible to be promoted to the Commodore's Messengers organization or to be promoted to RTC. So for those reasons, I did not have any ambitions for myself within Scientology by the time I actually officially joined the Sea Org at the age of 22. Now, when I was younger, from the ages of 13 to about the ages of 17, I did have ambitions. I specifically wanted to be promoted to the International Management Executive Committee. I wanted to be Quality Executive International. I wanted to be Quality Exec Int. That's a very specific ambition for a young Scientology staff member to have, and yet that's exactly what my ambition was. But by the time I joined the Sea Org at the age of 22, I knew I was going to be nothing but a rank and file Sea Org member. And I had sort of resigned myself to that fate, as some might say. And yet, you know, as a Sea Org member, I was really there with the viewpoint of like, you guys need me more than I need you. The moment I no longer really want to be here, I'm out. So I didn't necessarily feel like I was like doomed to toil in obscurity for the rest of my lifetime or anything like that. But yeah, that's an answer to the question. That's a good one. Thank you for that. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, Jeff. I used to see the Balance of Nature ads on TV all the time for years now, not just recently. I'll tell you what, these guys must be swimming in the money to be advertising vitamins on TV, high profile TV shows. I mean, on the internet space, when it comes to politics, it doesn't really get much more high profile than Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. I mean, that company, the Daily Wire itself, is just swimming in cash. So, you know, the rates that they must charge for ads over there, I'm just surprised that Balance of Nature hasn't been more on my radar lately, and particularly even the owner of Balance of Nature. In the video that I did today, I did mention the guy's name. I've never heard of that guy before. He owns this Balance of Nature. I mean, I got to dig into this. I got to find out how much revenue this company actually does. If anyone's out there, current staff member of current employee of Balance of Nature, former employee of Balance of Nature, you have any idea what kind of annual revenue this company does, please contact me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. That would be super awesome. Okay, we got another one from Terry. Terry Perry Lux. When are y'all going to do the reenactment? Please let us know a few days ahead. I don't want to miss it. Something. Okay. So I have received emails from people people who have experience in the performing arts who have offered to help me with this reenactment if I cannot muster together enough people to play all the roles. So yeah, I have to do a little bit of planning, but we are 100% going to, I am 100% going to be doing the reenactment of David Miscavige's deposition because it is amazing. And it would be really funny if it was like a 12-person, like I actually haven't gone through the deposition and made a count of how many different people appear in the transcript, how many roles need to be cast. But it would be so much fun if we just had like a, what is it? The Brady Bunch, a Brady Bunch screen going, and everyone's got their name of who they are in the deposition. Oh my God, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I mean, it might take months, but believe me, I will give everybody plenty of advance notice for this thing. I won't just go live on a live stream and give 15 minutes notice or anything like that. It'll be planned in advance and scheduled well in advance. Thank you for that, Terry. Gary, that was in support of int-based staff believing Hubbard would return to the base. That, of course, when he was still alive. Oh, I get it. Hubbard returning to the base when he was still alive. Yes, I see what you mean. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. All right, I'm only 20 minutes behind the chat now. Dan Mosqueda. Have any active Scientologists served on active duty while being in the church? Yes. I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of one, like active. There's a handful of former Scientologists who then joined the military. The only one I can think of, I'll name him, Peter Battershaw. Peter Battershaw, now I don't claim to know every Scientologist in the world, obviously. Peter Battershaw is the only person that I know who, as a Scientologist, went off and served in the military and then came back. Now, Peter Battershaw is probably no longer a Scientologist now, but he was when he served. Excellent question. I like that. Thank you, Dan. Another one from Jason Cow. Here we go. Jason Cow. Aaron, you aware of the Nuwaubian Nation cult? No, never heard of it. It's gone now, but they were even weirder than Scientology. A mixed Christianity, UFO religion, New Age, Black Muslim theology, and they built mini Egyptian pyramid compound in Georgia. Never heard of it, but you just reminded me. Someone sent me a video this week of a Nation of Islam Scientology study group on YouTube. I was blown away. The only problem is this freaking video is like 2 hours long. So if I'm going to react to it or do something about it, I know you're not talking about the NOI, but I'm just mentioning the NOI because you mentioned Black Muslim theology, and I sort of, the NOI, it's kind of Black Muslim theology, Black Muslim, sort of, right? So yeah, never heard of the Nuwaubian Nation cult, but I have heard of the Nation of Islam cult, and they love them some Scientology cult. And they have a frickin' Scientology study group on YouTube, and it's amazing. It included a PowerPoint presentation, and I got to figure out how to do a video on this without spending like 6 hours on it or something. But that's amazing. Interesting. Well, if there's some documentary about these guys, like on Amazon Prime or Netflix, I'd love to watch it. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Okay, Jake Lloyd, the Jake Lloyd. I just saw body cam footage of you in the bar incident with Sky during your campaign. Didn't realize you used to message her on Facebook or knew her before a Hulk story. Could you go into your history with her? Jake, I have a video on my channel about this. I think the video where I addressed this was, okay, search for the video, search for the video, Scientologist exposes my crimes on TikTok. and I talk about the incident with Sky and her boyfriend. This was before she was going out with the Hulk. Yeah, so check that out. I cover it in pretty good detail, but it's not like super long-winded. But I address all of that. Too much to address here, that's for sure. But yeah, Scientologist exposes my crimes on TikTok. It's a great video. Thanks for that one. All right, let's see. We really might be almost done here. Thank goodness, too. This is officially the longest live stream I have ever done. 2.5 hours. Never done it before. Okay, here's one. LK Niche again. By the way, the next time you put up one of these, tell me if I'm saying your name right. Is it L Niche or LK Niche or none of those? I lived in Indianapolis for 25 years and never know that Scientology had a mission there. Scientology missions aren't real, you know? Like, a mission could be a guy's garage and he paid $30,000 for the mission package. And like, I don't even know there's a mission in Indianapolis. I'd have to take your word for it. And the mission that's there today might not be the same mission that was there 5 years ago. Might not be the same mission that was there 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Missions just, they're hardly real. There's a handful of like legitimate, sizable missions in the world, but Indianapolis, I don't know about that. Send me some photos. If you go by the place, send me some photos. growingupinscientology@gmail.com. Shoot me some photos of the Indianapolis mission. I'll be shocked if it's anything substantial. Okay, Nikki R. Okay, had to look up the Massachusetts org. Lived around the corner a few years ago and passed the spot all the time because it's across from my train stop. Didn't move. I feel like I would have noticed it there in Alston. Yes, the Boston org has moved more than once. I think Mike Rinder has even done some blog posts on the absolute absurdity and insanity of what Scientology has done and has squandered millions of dollars in the Boston org, ideal org debacle, I believe. So yes, it most definitely has moved. I couldn't tell you exactly when. I couldn't tell you where. I'm not familiar with the area at all. But yeah, there's been some shenanigans going on up there in Boston over the last 15 years, whatever it is. Okay, next one here. Jamie Dodger. Hey, Aaron, you've really got to hand it to Miscavige because he usually can't reach it anyway. That is a good one. That's awesome. Thank you for that. I love it. Okay, here we go. Gretchen Hudderly. Gretchen Hudderly. Idea: drunk history style retelling of the Xenu story featuring some combo of you, Mark, Mike, Leah, Claire. Oh yeah. You know what? Maybe we would do some sort of a reading of L. Ron Hubbard's book called Something in the Stars. What is it called? War in the Stars? Travel to the Stars? L. Ron Hubbard. Hold on. It's basically the Xenu story. L. Ron Hubbard. Is it To the Stars? To the Stars. Is that what it is? Yeah, To the Stars. Because the retelling of the Xenu story would take about 5 minutes because the Xenu story is just in one reference that L. Ron Hubbard wrote. I mean, it wouldn't even take 5 minutes. So if we were to do some sort of a reading, it would probably have to be from the literary version of the story, which is L. Ron Hubbard's To the Stars, or Battle in the Stars, War in the Stars. I'm still not convinced To the Stars is the right one. Gosh darn it. But anyway, something like that. Me and Mike and Mark were talking about it on one of our streams, I think this past Monday. Good idea, Gretchen. We'll tuck that away for a later time. Okay, let's see if there's any more. Oh, I'm getting really close to being caught up. I'm at 12:11. Oh, there's one. Jamie Dodger. They always say the books are better than the movies they are based on. Does this count for Battlefield Earth? Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mentioned that just a short while back. Battlefield Earth was a great book. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. Not everybody felt the same way. The movie was trash. I don't know how movies that bad get made. I just don't know. But I actually love the book. Okay, we got another one here. Zonu Wilson. Hey, Aaron, I'm in Oz. I think that's Australia. Googled how active it is here and found the stat of 1,655, even though they claim 150,000. Yes, your laugh makes me laugh. Love it and keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Zonu. Yeah, 1,655. That's a pretty reasonable, pretty accurate number. I have to compare that to my spreadsheet. I'm just trying to think how many orgs there are. That's a damn close. I'm always shocked that census numbers come out to anything even close to correct, especially when you're dealing with small numbers. The smaller the number you are, the easier it is to be off by 50%, 100%, 200%. In all of Australia, if they were to be able to do a census and get that close to the real number of Scientologists, that is impressive. But yeah, 150,000. So imagine them claiming 150,000 Scientologists in Australia. There's never been 150,000 Scientologists in the world. I mean, really crazy. These guys just make stuff up. Okay. Ronnie Laughlin is back. What the hell ever happened with Rathman? He was tight with Rinder there for a minute and all in, then boom, pro shot videos like he's back in or under duress. He was tight with Rinder for a lot more than a minute. It's very simple. Marty Rathman took a financial deal. Whatever personal and mental instability Marty Rathman was dealing with, whatever existential crisis he was dealing with, adopting a brand new baby, being a man of advanced age, having no way to earn a living or make an income. Now, I'm making charitable excuses for him because the fact is his wife made and makes a good living. His wife had Scientology on the ropes in a lawsuit. So anything I just said that sort of sounds like maybe it would be an excuse for Marty Rathman isn't really an excuse. The man's fucking insane. Okay. So that's my real distillation of what's wrong with Marty Rathman. Any excuse somebody wants to make for him is just an excuse because Marty wouldn't have needed to figure out how to earn a living for the rest of his life if the lawsuit his wife was winning against Scientology was just allowed to move forward. But instead, she drops the lawsuit. They fire the lawyers. They disconnect from all their friends. They attack all of them. And they basically go back working for Miscavige. So what happened with Marty Rathman is he took a financial deal. And why he did that is anyone's guess, other than the fact that he's not mentally stable. And I'm not a professional, guys. I'm just a guy who grew up in a cult. What do I know? That's my opinion of Marty Rathman. Okay, so Nasty Nathaniel. You guys can check out my channel for the interview that I did with Nathaniel. Aaron, I have 2 tattoos of Scientology PAC security guard Parker Osmond. Seriously, I do. I know that you do. What do you think the church and Parker himself thinks of this? I think in their minds, they just think that you're a crazy pervert. But that's what they think about all gay people. So nothing special. And that's true. That is what Scientology thinks about anyone who's gay. Crazy pervert. Okay, so here we go. Thanks, Nathaniel. The second one, LK Niche. Perfect. Nice. LK Niche. All right. So I kind of been getting it right. Thank God. All right. Bat Goat. Bat Goat, has been a while. Haven't seen you in a while. Bat Goat. Thanks for joining. Oh my God, guys, we finished it. 2 hours and 42 minutes, a new world record. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. God, it's only 12:20. Not bad. I should have started earlier. All right, everybody. Thank you. Let me get my little outro ready to go. Thank you for hanging in there. And guys, remember, the comment that includes the word bobblehead that gets the most likes, I'm going to ship you a bobblehead. And you know what? I'll throw in an SP bracelet if the ones that I have happen to fit your wrist. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,